Hello and welcome to the inaugural episode of 3.5 Fans, the movie podcast where the group of us discuss whatever came out recently, or in this case, not particularly so recently. We have our coordinator, Ian Smart Pineapple McLachlan. He's the one. We have Ian Smart Pineapple McLachlan. He's the one that you can thank for the amount of time that's passed between Endgame coming out and this podcast starting.
If you really want to say that, I think we had to hand it over to Jacko as choosing Endgame. I was all about the John Wick 3. But,
that's true. The choice made by our producer.
Some of us haven't seen that.
At least I meant to have to go to cinema.
Guys, I got to introduce the guy.
Sorry.
It was a choice made by our producer, Jacko Zjark Bazinga. Jacko, how are you doing?
Thank you very much.
Of course, a man who needs no introduction, our guest Tom. You all know him. You all love him. So going around.
Reoccurring guest.
Hey, why am I not getting a full name introduction, Chris?
Ian.
He doesn't remember your last name, Tom.
Yeah, it's got like weird letters in it.
It does.
Ian, what is... Okay, how many times have you seen Endgame, and what is your favorite Marvel film?
I've seen Endgame once in the cinema, and I have
Well, everyone's only ever seen it in the cinema up until
Of course, as you should be well aware. My favorite film, I would have to go with Thor Ragnarok. That would be the one I could watch most times over and over and just enjoy wholeheartedly every time.
I think that's a pretty popular answer. Yeah.
Same.
Sorry,
Jacko, how many times have you seen Endgame, and what would be your favorite?
I actually went back this Monday to watch it a second time.
In preparation for the podcast?
No, also because I wanted to watch it, because, it's pretty movie.
Yeah. I did that. I hadn't seen it in a while and had to go back and, before it was, I was like, this might be my last chance to see it in cinema for a while.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, it's
gotta give it. Gotta give it.
I mean, I wanted to do that, but it stopped showing in all the cinemas in my town, so I was like, I guess I won't.
Tom,
let's see.
you've
My
spoiled your answers
favorite
for us.
movie
Have I? I haven't.
is probably The Winter Soldier, because that's the one where I was like, okay, this could be an actual thing. This could be.
Yeah.
It's funny that you
kind of
say that, but,
legitimized
most of the following movies don't have that same sort of seem to it, right? Like
They went
this
in
could be the new thing.
They went a different direction with
it,
it, but it still showed that you can have other genres within the superhero movie.
So 2 votes for Thor Ragnarok and 2 votes for The Winter Soldier. I'd have to cast my lot with The Winter Soldier as well. Civil War is a close second. So obviously because Endgame is the culmination of a cinematic universe of 21-ish films, depends what you count. It makes sense that before we discuss Endgame in its full details, we have to discuss the entire range of movies that led up to it, including, obviously, Infinity War, which was very much the part 1 of this particular 2-part narrative. So cast your minds way back to the year 2008, more than a decade ago now, when Tom was very small and wore sunglasses all the time.
My God, I was strong then. Yeah.
My God, I was strong man. Iron Man.
Back in the day.
Does anybody remember seeing Iron Man in cinema?
I did, I think, yeah. But I was kind of... I mean, it was a fun movie, but I didn't realize what it was gonna, build into.
Yeah.
I think I was very hyped for it, but I think I saw it in the cinema.
It had a great trailer, right?
Too long.
Yeah, it did have a great trailer. You see, I'd love to be able to pretend. Yes, I remember it well. I knew from the moment I walked out what it would be. But I have no idea, right? Like, it was just a film at the time. There was nothing that differentiated my head from like Sam Raimi's Spider-Man or anything.
Because it came out, it came out so long ago. I had a tradition with my family to like go to every Marvel movie. So for the past up until like I don't know, 5 years ago, it would be like for everyone to go to the next big thing.
So what changed that you didn't in the past 5 years?
People kind of stopped caring. I stopped forcing.
There's a lot of them,
Like three come out a year, and it's not for everybody, and I stopped forcing them basically.
And
Fake
of
fans.
course, the hype was not necessarily aided by the next movie coming out later in 2008, which was The Incredible Hulk. That was
so we counting that, that counts.
It's in the universe.
It's canonical.
Yeah.
Louis Leterrier, also known for like Clash of the Titans and stuff like that, came in and directed something. It's a shame because I quite like him as an actor. But...
Yeah, I mean Edward Norton's like one of my favorite actors. So
He's a dickhead.
I didn't mind his portrayal. Hey, I mean I don't know about his personal life.
And then it was a couple of years
Iron Man 2 came out, which was a kind of a weird one, and possibly I wonder if there were because this was the third film of Phase 1. Well,
That's the
I'm wondering
third
if there were
movie.
people
Oh,
sitting around asking themselves if the commitment to the cinematic universe was the right thing to do after Iron Man 2, because it was really
I mean,
wonky, right?
up until that point, it was kind of teased every time, right? Like at the end credits, you could see Nick Fury, who came to Iron Man and stuff.
Yeah,
I think in the
that was-
end credits of the Hulk, Iron Man, like Tony Stark came
yeah.
to the
That's
bar or
what I said.
whatever. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Talking about the something.
Avengers Initiative or something.
I don't
Iron
know,
Man
like,
2, I feel, contributes to the world building of the MCU quite well, though.
dude, if I'm honest, like Iron Man 2 and Iron Man 3 in my head are so blurred together, I can barely tell which is which.
Yeah,
And I
Iron
swear
Man 2
I
is a
didn't-
weird one, man. I don't know.
What happens is Iron Man 2 the guy who had the electric whips?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
And it kind of introduces Hammer Industries.
It-
But
yeah.
for insanity, we'll move on to 2011. Year later, Thor, the first Thor movie. Come on.
Ugh.
Thor,
Yeah.
one of those weird franchises where, like, 'cause so often this is not just Marvel movies. You start off with a good film and then it gets worse.
Mhm.
Thor just, I mean, I suppose it did get worse, but the peak would come late.
Well, the Thor is they set off weirdly for Thor.
I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
but it's such a
I
hard
don't know,
premise,
a bit of
right?
a bit of a wrong
Yeah.
angle, perhaps.
I don't hate it
know.
as much as everyone else. Iron Man is like relatable, you know, it's a technology. We all get
Mm.
that. To try to bring to the mainstream like this is like an alien superhero that survives on Earth and like same thing. I just think it's some bigger leap, right? Than
And I
I.
think they did.
I mean,
pretty well,
that's
man.
what. That's why they did it like they did it with like humanizing him.
Yeah, yeah,
Him
yeah.
losing powers and stuff.
Yeah, to first
Yeah,
put him
yeah, yeah.
in Asgard
which also-
and then
which-
on Earth is a really good contrast.
Like,
Yeah,
I
When
think
it
I
when
always-
it sets up at Asgard becomes important later.
Yeah,
I
that's
suppose,
In
as well.
retrospect, I think Ragnarok makes the other two better because
Yes.
you can see the change of Thor from being this serious melodramatic guy.
Yeah. Also-
yeah.
And also, it's like it also expands the universe a bit. So we have Asgard.
Yeah,
Mm.
But the first two movies, we basically see a frozen wasteland, and I don't even like destroyed, ruined desert wasteland of the elves and shit, right?
yeah.
And that's it, right? For like space stuff plus Asgard, obviously. But Ragnarok expands, which
Yeah,
is
I don't-
nice.
I just always had like a
Space
really,
stuff.
big soft spot for origin films. Like I
That's
just
true.
if I'm gonna go back and rewatch, I'm always gonna like enjoy like I won't enjoy Thor more, but like Iron Man 1 I would always rather watch it because it's like,
And
you know,
the fact
I'm
that-
watching the character come together.
The
But-
fact
but-
of it being an origin film, I feel is one of the reasons I stomach the next film on the list, which is Captain America: The First Avenger.
Dude, I like
What?
the
That's a
Captain
good
America, the First
movie.
Avenger. I like that movie.
I love
It
the
has
other
so much
Captain
heart in
America.
it.
So much more heart.
I might I won't say this.
Same boats, Chris.
But Captain America: The First Avenger and Winter Soldier to me, I don't know which I enjoyed more. So like,
Wow,
I-
that's so interesting. Okay.
dude, like I just like I want to watch like the fun action, and the First Avengers are like fun World War II like fight scenes
Mhm.
and stuff. You know, it's got like motorbikes jumping over tanks and shit like that.
I
It's
just,
it's a
I just
fun
love
time.
the character of Steve Rogers so much, and I think he's
Yeah.
the best in the first one. Like
Yeah,
the
so
way
it's, like,
he
all
starts
about him,
out,
it's
the
literally
way
him.
the end moment when he's in the ship and he's calling Peggy and he's like,
it's
Yeah.
really,
Like,
it's a
whatever
good
man
film.
stands.
It
Like,
does.
And it's
Need
my
to
origin
rewatch
story
that
again.
one.
I really like also did watching him like that scrawny kid and seeing him turn into it. I
Yeah,
really
it's-
like that part of it. All superhero films, all becoming a superhero. When Spider-Man gets
Yeah.
bitten, when you get the super serum, it's just always so like cool. to
Fair.
watch.
But
Okay.
on that note, as you say, when we mentioned Spider-Man, I'm
Mm.
very glad they didn't do an origin for Spider-Man.
I mean, yeah,
in the same way.
He couldn't.
There was a bit
Spider-Man did
over
that
there.
a lot, okay, more than Captain
Yeah.
America. Like,
Yeah, like
yeah.
legit. Because that would make it like a third origin,
Yeah,
Spider-Man
yeah.
origin
And
movie.
then,
I
like,
mean,
Next
this
step.
was
And that's
this was
too
a
much.
point. This was a point of the MCU in Phase 1 where they hadn't kind of overdone the origin movie. It
Yeah,
wasn't
yeah.
such a meme at the time. And of course, Captain America led us nicely into I'd say the first jewel in the crown, or I suppose stone in the gauntlet of the MCU, Avengers 2012. Joss
Fucking
Whedon
love that
steps
movie.
up. Yeah, I think this was the one that for a lot of us kind of did what consecutive continuous movies would do later, which is just kind of blow you out of
Yeah.
blow your mind with the scale of the thing and how many cool characters and actors, and the thing that there were 6 of them in it, 6 Avengers at the time,
Yeah.
and Loki being a bad guy.
Joss Whedon did
Yeah.
such a good job with this one. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I think the Avengers for me, it's where I look back. That's where I'm like, that's where like really started. Like before like they were good films. That's when like man, Marvel's like it should
So
cool.
I cared about the MCU.
Yeah,
That's where
exactly,
they
right?
became
Yeah.
the MCU.
It became more like a universe than individual films, right?
Yeah.
Because you actually saw them all together. So no longer
Yes.
just individual characters. Now it's like an actual group, and that hasn't really been done in film to that sort of level before.
Yeah, I remember like being extremely hyped for that movie, but I was like, this whole time I felt like Loki was not strong enough of a villain. Like, but then again, like, as in like, you know, like pure strength and shit. But then
Yeah,
it was,
I mean it's about the
but then
Avengers, right?
it
It's
went,
not
it,
really-
yes, but then it went like a different route with
Yeah.
Hawkeye being thing and lots of subterfuge, and like he was great,
Yeah.
brilliant.
But
But I
it's
think
good, right? But it's not just
The
sort of
Hawks,
dumb
the
being.
Hawk scene.
Yeah,
I laughed so. Oh, that's
there were so many good moments. But I think
There are.
the thing the Avengers does best is it introduces everybody in the movie itself. So you don't have to watch the previous ones to
Yeah.
understand what's
Like I've
going
shown
on.
that to my family when they've not seen any
Yeah.
others, and they also like enjoy it as a good film.
you get the
You,
ensemble cast the thingy down perfectly.
Yeah.
And it sets up a lot as well. Not that we're necessarily going for it at the time, but specific scenes in Endgame, which we'll get to later,
Of
as
course,
well
yeah.
as the start of Spider-Man: Homecoming, which we'll discuss later, and so on. A lot of what propagates out from the MCU starts with the end state of the universe when the first Avengers finishes. It's kind
Yeah,
of,
I mean that's the point of these movies, right? The Avengers, like the interactions
Yeah.
between them.
Then it nosedived a little bit. We can probably gloss over Iron Man 3 and Thor: The Dark World ever so slightly.
Quickly again,
Hey,
what happens in Iron Man 3? What even happens in that one?
He gets that
Pepper goes
PTSD.
red and beats up. Yeah, he meets the kid. He gets the PTSD.
Oh yeah, I remember that. That's cute.
Alcoholism.
I liked it.
Who's the
I
bad
liked
guy in
it.
it? Who's the bad guy?
What's his
The
name?
guy from
Logan-
Memento. The guy from Memento.
The guy from Memento.
He's like he kidnaps the president and holds him in a boat in an Iron Man
Oh
suit.
yeah, dude, it's pretty bad. Like,
I liked it. I don't know. I liked it.
Thor: The Dark
It was
World
fine.
introduces
I'll
the Reality
defend-
Stone.
I'll defend Thor: The Dark World though.
the reality
I
stone.
really like that.
Wait, the
movie.
Dark World's
It's
when
not
what's her
bad.
name gets the shit in her, right?
The ether.
Yeah.
I don't
Which,
remember.
again,
Wait,
sets up part of Endgame, so we've got to talk
That's
about it a little
when
bit.
when Loki finds out he's not the son, or is that what that
Yeah.
earlier?
Yeah,
that sets up the entire Loki.
Yeah, it's
Thor
very important
dynamic,
again.
the
like
Brotherhood.
the Loki death scene, you know.
Mhm.
And then he takes over.
Him being
from
on
them,
the throne, yeah.
And it has
Also-
one of the most
also-
interesting final fights of any movie, which is with the portals and the cars flying, and the
Yeah,
hammer
yeah.
coming back and forth.
Also,
I
like
really
the
like it.
Heimdall badass moment when the elves arrive in Asgard.
Yeah.
Basically jumps on that ship and just wrecks
It's
it.
funny that last fight scene
Wish
gets
we had more Heimdall.
points taken away from me for being set in London. It just takes me out of it too much when they're like on the
Really?
underground.
I've seen that street. It's never that quiet.
And then after those two, the Russos step up to the plate, and we get the Winter Soldier in 2014, which
Yeah.
So good.
really redefined to me what a superhero film could kind of be in terms of like everything else is just kind of like they start in a really happy place and then something bad happens and and then they overcome a challenge and in the end they're again, right? And you could vaguely apply that to the Winter
Any
Soldier.
movie ever.
But
really.
then it works. There's a lot more kind of nuance. Obviously like betrayal and stuff going on, revelation. Like Bucky, is he a villain? Is he a friend? Like there's kind of just a whole lot more to it than Thor: The Dark World. Sorry, it was the last one.
Yes, it's not bad.
I just looked over to it.
I think it's pretty overrated, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's really good. I think it's really good. I don't think it's that.
In a way, like the heroes don't. Well, they win, but they don't really beat the
I
villain.
would
in a
put
way.
it at like
At least not like the Winter Soldier. Like
it would be like maybe my
last
number
one.
5 if I had to like rank them. Like
I
maybe.
mean, that's fair.
That's-
I mean,
there's like a few,
that's
there's
really
a
But the
good,
fact,
though.
but the fact
Yeah,
that it
not
was
that bad,
grounded
but-
while still having that MCU feel is
Yeah.
really impressive to me.
Yeah.
And also, it's
It's very
connected
impressive.
to Agents of Shield, which at the time I was a huge fan
Yeah,
of,
yeah.
and like it was huge implications in the universe, and that was back when people were like, "Oh, the TV series matter, in the universe."
Yeah.
But, I mean,
Like, if I
all
look
that
at
stuff
it-
didn't really end up mattering. But
But like, yeah, that's a bit of like filmmaking and like what they managed to do in the film and while being in the Marvel universe. I agree. It's like probably the most incredible one they've done. But in terms for me, just enjoying watching a film, it wasn't as enjoyable as other ones, I guess.
Mm.
In terms of just straight enjoyment, like I can appreciate it's a good film and still not like enjoy watching it as much as some
Yeah.
others.
he's just a Team Tony guy.
Team Tony.
So-
I know. I like Captain America. I like the First Avenger. First Avenger. That's number 4 in my list.
So, stepping up next, James Gunn brought us Guardians of the Galaxy, which I would say took the format maybe a bit more to the normal kind of plot line, but also kind of wackified it
Yeah.
tangentially in a
Yes.
completely different way. It was very tonally different
Yeah.
from anything else in the
It's like
universe.
unexpected gem.
Yeah, it feels almost like it's not part. Like it's that
Yeah.
different. Yeah, to me.
I feel like
Yeah,
at that point when Guardians released, people were like, worldwide, it got huge, right?
Mhm.
Like it became a phenomenon.
It feels like
Going-
people who might not normally enjoy the Marvel universe, right? And this kind of brings them into
Yeah.
it, but it's so different. You could make someone watch it and not let them know it's part of Marvel, and they would still enjoy it as a film. I think.
Yeah.
Like,
Got to give a massive shout out to the soundtrack from
Oh, yeah.
actually both the Guardians films. Like, as someone who, no, I mean, okay, I like music, but like I don't have a massive fucking, like I don't go like a huge amount of concerts, like festivals or anything.
yeah.
When I've got a group of friends and I need, and like someone's like, "Hey, Chris, put on some music," it is a godsend to me just be able to go to Spotify and be like,
Yeah,
"Guardians of the
yeah.
Galaxy." There's nobody who's gonna like dislike just sitting there listening to the Guardians of the Galaxy playlist, the ultimate
Yeah,
track or whatever.
it's
It's just
Exactly.
put together so well.
unlike Age of Ultron, which Joss Whedon brought us next. His last
Dude.
film, I think.
Oh, I swear there's some films where I'm just like, man, I know this happened in it, but like, I have no desire to rewatch it in any way. Like,
well, it brought a lot of plot.
maybe, but not any I
Yeah, well,
remember.
character-wise, it
It's
did.
a-
Like
at
Tony
least-
wanted to
least-
defend the planet, and
It sets up Civil War.
yeah.
I think that's probably the best thing I can say
Okay.
for Age of Ultron, because I think like some of my favorite scenes from Civil War, which we'll get to later, are set up by like events that happened. Like the characters dealing with the fallout and the kind of like that everything wasn't such a happy ending. I think that was the biggest problem I had walking out of Age of Ultron, was the film kind of was like, yay.
Mhm. Speaking of
feel
trailers,
like
like,
most-
the best trailer in the entire universe is that first trailer where you have the
Dude,
No Strings on Me.
Or
Yeah,
With,
I swear.
yeah,
That, when I was thinking about Age of Ultron right now, I was about to say, I think most of what I remembered it from that trailer.
yeah,
I barely
yeah.
remember the film.
That
I
would have
remember
been
the
such a
scene from the
better
trailer.
movie if it was that tone. Like,
That-
oh
in
shit,
my head,
shit got
that's the
real. It
movie
was
that
happy-go-lucky before, but shit got real.
if you ask me, I think it might would have been better if like a fraction of Ultron survived somewhere. Just like it's
Yeah,
like
just
'cause
set up,
he
yeah.
feels very much like a modern technological like horror villain type thing.
Mhm.
If you catch my drift, like
And that's
you can't
that's how
fully
it
get
is in the
rid of him.
comics. I think.
like-
I think he,
If they went a bit more like scary turn, not a comedic turn, I think it might have been better.
They go into the basement in Civil War. It should be like a Zola Ultron fusion.
That'd be
running
pretty
the
cool.
Computers, like.
There we go.
Pretty cool.
So anyway, it sets up. I love that. Well, you get told that the Mind Stone was in Loki's stick all along, which is kind of funny. Like the first Avengers is all about him crossing the universe to use the Space Stone, and it turns out he had an Infinity Stone with him all along.
Mm.
And it says it starts Vision, which is pretty important. I think.
Vision,
And it-
yeah.
Phase 1 ended on Avengers 1. Phase 2 of the MCU ended with Ant-Man, which is a bit less of a bang and a bit more of a. But it was
Yeah,
still
but-
better than Age of Ultron, so it was nice to kind of finish on that.
Yeah.
note.
But I like it that way because it's like the same way as they're saying for Phase 4 is going to end with this one, right? With
I mean-
Spider-Man. Because it's like after the bang, like let me see what's new in the universe,
Little
right?
epilogue,
In a
maybe.
way, what's changed. So it's not like, and then like for next phase we have like so many changes. It's like
But part of me is like, what's the
Where
point of
does it come
defining it into phases like this? Phases like this, I don't really get it. Like,
because think of it as like seasons of a TV show.
yeah,
Yeah, obviously, obviously, but it's like
Seasons
like
TV show, they release
arcs.
more, and there's a long break normally before the next season. But in this, it all releases
Yeah.
every year between, right?
Yeah,
There's not
but
really any
but
gap
you can
between
also look
phases.
as like you have like in like I don't know, maybe in manga it's I guess more like arcs,
Yeah.
sagas, and that kind
Yeah,
of shit.
I don't mind it, but when people are like this ended phase 2, I'm like, why does it
Mhm.
fucking matter? The next
Yeah.
film came out in a year anyway. It's not like it
Yeah,
actually
yeah,
matters
no,
it ended
it's-
it. Like,
And
No, it's-
Ant-Man
it's-
is weird to end it on because it's a new character. The film is a mess because of the different directors and shit.
it's not a
Heist.
mess. It's
It's
fine.
not a mess.
It's
It's not a
kind
mess.
of.
It's a great
Fine.
I
great heist
don't
movie.
like it that much.
I
It's a
like
heist movie.
Lewis. He's got some of my favorite side characters, does Ant-Man.
Yeah, Michael
Yeah,
Pena is
yeah,
really good.
yeah.
It got the comedy done well.
And the
Like his
heist was
friends.
interesting.
I
Oh,
fucking
it
love
was very
Ant-Man,
short.
man. And
And
Ant-Man's
he's-
great.
And Ant-Man's a cool hero. He's just,
Yeah,
I mean, it's
cool.
as much as I like Captain America. Ant-Man, it's like just conceptually his powers and stuff are just more interesting.
Dude, like I was thinking about this when I like watched Endgame. Like, is there a limit how big he can get? Like, we can talk more about this later. But I'm just curious if they mentioned the first
there's
one. So I can't remember.
there's like side effects and like people
No,
like
okay.
he talks with Professor Pym at like point or Doctor Pym
Yeah.
about like what's the biggest you ever got, and it's like you know.
No, this
does
was
weird
Lawrence
things.
Fishburne because he was also.
Okay.
China
Oh yeah, that's
in the-
right.
in the
Yeah,
past.
well, how big you go? Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Because I was trying to remember because I couldn't remember if they talked about an Ant-Man one.
Also,
Okay.
the physics don't make any sense. Whatever.
I mean, come on. If you
It's
Quantum
been-
realm.
Yeah.
Is
Bim
there a problem
part-
with the quantum realm?
Pim particles. That's it. That's all. you need to know.
everything.
Yeah.
And then Civil War kicks
Which it
off
is.
Phase 3 in 2016. The Russos come back to save us because, like, really, past the Winter Soldier, like Winter Soldier was their first one. The Russos just kind of kept coming back and producing absolute fucking bangers.
Yeah.
Just
And which is
constantly.
weird because the Winter Soldier was the
So
first
I-
movie ever, I think, right?
Yeah.
Oh, they
Was
only
that
did TV
first? I didn't
before.
know that.
Yeah.
Oh, it's cool.
So you get Civil War, which
So hyped.
yeah, damn, you
Fuck.
could do a podcast on Civil War so easily.
Yeah, I think I had to push the
Yeah.
Winter Soldier back more than number 5. Actually, there's a lot of films as we talk about them. I'm like, oh yeah, these are good films.
The conflict is good. I feel
Yeah.
like the characters are, people talk about Team Cat, Team Iron Man, Team Tony, whatever, but like you don't really feel like there's a good side and a bad side.
What are you talking about? Yes, I do. Don't tell me what I.
But
Don't
it's
tell
weird,
me
right?
what I
Because
think.
in the comics, the Civil War was this huge event that spanned years and stuff, involved everybody. And in this movie, it's like it's pretty personal, really. Like it starts off with the Sokovia Accords. But...
Didn't involve everybody in a way, I like the villain, but no like
Zemo.
typical super movie villain.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Zemo.
Like he was just a man with a gun and the knowledge
cool.
of
Yeah.
stuff, and like the real enemies are like friends, basically,
Yeah,
right? Like
themselves,
manipulate.
Enemies.
I really like that.
The emotion of that last fight
Oh.
from when Tony finds out what happened to his parents through to the end of the movie is just,
Robert
it's
is
like-
amazing.
I'm just sitting. There's like take
Acting
it back to Thor 1 we talked about earlier. Like I have a stirring in my heart when he's like lying there dead or unconscious or whatever on the ground, and you hear Odin whispering, if he be worthy,
Yeah,
and a
yeah.
hammer flies back to him. Like, yeah, that's a kind of cool thing. I just feel like that like constantly through this, like, my heart just bleeds with emotion all the way through the ending of Civil War. And the fight is great. It's as and of itself.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the role of Black Panther. Like,
and the
he's
music and Black
introduced
Panther.
greatly. Yeah, and then like in the end, he's just like shows like he's this wise person as well, not just like some.
How does Black
Phantom
Panther first show up in it? I can't even remember.
That's the
Father
UN.
joins
UN,
the,
yeah,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
remember.
No, you-
wait,
go on,
so
we'll
you brought
skip
up a
Doctor
good
Strange for
point
now.
about the moments in these movies, but I think that's kind of the overview of this whole universe. Is like the moments that make you like cry or scream, and the characters. Like that's the
Yeah.
reason this universe works.
Yeah. That's why it's so hard to show Marvel movies to my girlfriend. She didn't give a fuck about any of them. So it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
it's
you
one
have
of them,
to-
like, why are you not
I
crying?
started watching all of them with her, and we got like pretty far, but then like she went away for a bit, and like
So Doctor Strange was a movie that you didn't reach with your girlfriend, but we'll talk about it next. It came out in 2016, directed by Scott Derrickson, apparently. First time appearance in the MCU.
This is where the meme of the
mixed
origin
feelings
story
about-
becomes.
No, I love
Yeah.
all origin
love-
films. I love all origin films. It's
It's-
above Winter Soldier boys.
I love it because it's sorcerers. Although very nerfed sorcerers, as in like fucking martial arts
It
sorcerers.
starts out
basically.
very weird, yeah, in the power.
But-
scale.
Yeah, well, not even on the power scale. It's just the type of fighting is very like martial arts, not magic
simple.
type stuff as we
Yeah.
see in.
Well, you see
Infinite
hints
War
of it, right?
Endgame
Like
at
with
the
the
end.
mirror dimension and the
Obviously,
ancient one.
Yeah.
obviously, yeah. But I just love the character.
But he's so similar to Tony Stark. At least in that movie, he becomes better later on. But I remember.
Pompous
Well,
asshole being-
personally, I just
Sarcastic.
love that kind of character.
Yeah.
Dude,
I love that
just,
kind of character.
I just love all origin films when they first learn about like the powers and like, oh my god, magic is real. I don't believe it. And then
Yeah,
they
dude,
go,
that first
Taking
moment
off,
with
isn't it?
the first moment with
Tilda
Stephen
Swinton
Strange and the Ancient One, and she pushes him out the body, and you see the
It's
world.
so cool,
That's-
man. It
that's
just-
the visuals are
That's
great
it.
in that.
Visually, yeah, it has to. You got to
Mm.
pause by a moment, Doctor Strange, to give it some credit for the visual effects, which were just. That was one of the ones where I could definitely just take my parents to it because I even follow what was going on.
Yeah.
It's like I could just say, "Hey guys, it's kind of like a deception. Everything's really quite crazy."
Yeah.
And I could there and be like, "Whoa, those were some good graphics."
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to harp
How-
too much about like origin
how-
films being so good, but like
A
another
question.
nice thing about them is that like you don't need to know any outside knowledge. You can show them people who aren't aware of the characters, and it's introduced. And I know that's like a little thing, but it's just nice to be like, this is a good stand. They're always standalone films, right?
Building
Like
block,
every
yeah.
origin film should be standalone, but nobody knows if it's going to be popular enough to have more films made. So it's like a complete package to me, right? It shows everything you need to know.
One question about like Doctor Strange. How long do you think Strange was fighting Dormammu in the mirror, like the
like
dimension?
But I like seeing it's like timeless, right? Because I thought like time
Yeah.
isn't meant to
Like,
exist,
like
right? So we can
undefined,
keep
I
under
think.
like.
but how many
yeah.
times did he
Yeah.
die?
It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
it's-
How
it's-
long?
It should be infinite. I feel like.
Yeah,
It should be a
Yeah.
very long time.
It
Obviously.
was a
Yeah,
battle
yeah.
of wills, right? It was basically who gave up first.
Yeah, I mean, isn't the comic that's like its superpower, right? He's got like infinite willpower.
Yeah,
right? That's what everyone says, right? Like,
He's a lantern.
He's yeah. he's like Hal from Green Lanterns. Incredible power. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think that moment explains a lot about him in the next movies, because he goes through a crazy transition where suddenly he's like the Sorcerer Supreme and he knows everything. And that's basically because he died 10,000 times and he had a lot of time to think.
He's the one who's like
How I
whose
passed my
second.
studies.
Doctor Strange is the one whose second film feels like the biggest missing puzzle piece in the MCU to me. I feel like there's like another film worth of character development between where he ends his first one and where he is like.
Could
later
be,
on.
yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know where I would have put
But,
it, but it's
yeah,
it's
like-
kind of conspicuous to me.
What happened to Mordo during the 5 years, right? He's like, at the end of Doctor Strange, he's taking powers from other sorcerers.
I
And
guess
so
he's
now
just been
there's
doing that.
There's like a
yeah.
6 years, like, drop off.
maybe he got snapped, you know.
Yeah, I'm definitely assuming he got snapped.
Cross your fingers.
I-
All the bad people get snapped. All the good
Just-
people get saved.
We do have to move on from Doctor Strange, unfortunately, because Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 came out next. Which I like less than Guardians 1, and some people hate me for that, but
I like it
Same.
strongly. I like it
That's a good
strongly
one.
less than Guardian one. For me, it's
Ooh.
like it's like average.
But the characters in it were so great. Like you get Rocket's Raccoon
Wait.
development, you get Drax
the
development.
humor is fantastic.
Yeah, Yondu, man.
Maybe
That's-
Yondu
Oh
development.
god.
Okay,
Oh.
It's,
Oh,
it's, a,
man.
it's a mixed bag, Guardians 2. Ego landed kind of weakly for me, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I didn't like Ego.
But-
I didn't like the. I didn't like.
But the
like,
moment,
His the
though,
thing with his
when-
mother, when the tumor in her head.
To be straight
Yeah,
up, I
when
don't
he
really
and he
like-
just immediately shoots Ego. That's so great.
It's not without its moments, but like, yeah.
I just
I
don't
don't
think the plot's that good.
Well,
You've got so many. You got to be a really good villain these days to stand out in the MCU. Like,
Yeah.
it's not just that there's lots of good ones. There's also just like lots of mediocre ones as well, like
Yeah.
just average ones.
I don't think I've ever even seen it a second time. I haven't made felt inclined to.
I
I,
mean,
probably
I don't think
should
you-
because.
I've
You
just
don't think-
rewatched those moments.
The MCU, as with Game of Thrones, can be divided into, I feel, those films that you rewatch and those films where you just watch the
Yeah.
clips on YouTube.
yeah.
It's like, there's some that I'm going to go back and some that I'm just going to be like, I'll just watch that bit and then I'll feel like I watched the movie again.
That's fair, yeah.
Spider-Man: Homecoming, I will rewatch though many times. That's high on
Man,
my.
I need
that's
to
easily top
rewatch
5
it.
for me.
Yeah, I don't think
haven't-
I
I
don't think I've
I
watched
haven't
it.
rewatched it, but I really should because it's really.
I like it.
I
a
want
lot.
to do a rewatch together.
Yeah, we'll do that. It's one of those films again where it's, for me at least, similar enough to Guardians, where it's like different enough from a lot of the other films, just because there's like a lot younger people and the scenario is quite different, and it just has a different tone. Where again, it's like a little break almost, right? It's like a little refreshing, like, ooh, look what they're doing now, which doesn't
Yeah.
happen in every film.
I like the
origin
fact that
movie.
they made him young.
Exactly right. That's what I mean.
very
Very
young.
The other movies.
High school
Like
thing
the other
works.
It works so
Yeah.
well. It's such a nice.
His side characters are at least as good as Ant-Man's. Like they're
Mhm.
definitely some of the best up
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Guy's name I can't remember. I was calling him Fat Friend.
Yeah, same.
With the
Ned,
Lego
I think?
Death Star
Ned-
and
Ned,
just-
right?
Ned, yes. Oh, and his picture on his phone, on Peter's phone, like when he
yeah.
calls him, and it's like Ned's face, like. It's just, they're
Too
just-
real, man, too
They're
real.
so fucking fantastic. They're so fucking
Also,
good.
like one of the best moments. Well, first of all, like great fucking villain.
Oh
Absolutely
yeah.
great.
yeah.
Yeah.
Very well
And,
done,
like,
One of the
yeah.
best, I
The,
think.
the
yeah.
moment, the
Something.
moment when,
In the car.
Yeah, the one.
yeah, and like when he gets home,
in the kitchen. Yeah.
when the doors open, and then he's like there, it's like,
Yeah,
that's
like,
The
great.
moment of recognition of both
Fuck.
Spider-Man and the villain, like when they recognize each other, is so well done.
The one that
Yeah.
the memes are all made
I-
with. Yeah.
I distinctly remember, and I kicked myself because, like, on the face, it was kind of like it was something I could have seen coming earlier. But like, as he was walking up the front path to the house, I figured out, oh shit, it's gonna be him, isn't it? And then I was like, oh, it was about 2 seconds before
Yeah.
it was on screen. I was like,
Yeah.
Wait
you
a
can
second.
feel like something.
yeah, it was the way. I don't know if it was the way the camera was pointed or
Yeah,
something, but
yeah.
I was like, oh, there's a reveal.
In
oh,
hindsight,
yeah.
it definitely
Yeah.
don't fit it. but-
Yeah.
Yeah, I had it similar to you.
But at
I
the
was
time,
like,
like until like
Yeah.
probably a minute or two before, like I was not
I had
fucking.
no idea.
No, I would. I was kicking myself, but like I
Yeah.
didn't. I just distinctly remember being like,
But he's so innocent in that movie. It's
And-
so well done because it's not an origin movie, as you say,
It's an
but
origin
it's
movie. It counts
kind
in
of
my-
like
in a way.
It counts in my
yeah,
head as an origin.
he starts being Spider-Man. I guess.
It's not a- it's not a
when the
Powers
building collapses
origin
on top of
movie.
him.
It's not powers, but the
Yeah.
origin of like who he is, right? As a superhero.
Yeah,
I
I like-
thought the building bit was a bit cheesy.
The what say?
There's a bit where the building falls on him, and you're like, look
Yeah,
at
so
the
like
mask,
talk,
and it's
Patrick
reflected in the
Southwell.
water. Yeah, you know, you hear Tony's voice in his head. There's like a voiceover. He's like, you know, if you're nothing without a suit, you don't deserve to have it. Or something. That line, good line.
Mhm.
But like, I think if there's gonna be a silent moment of him like staring, and then he pushed up. It just felt a bit cheesy. It was like adding in the voice lines at the end of Blade Runner. You know, it's like
Yeah, but they often do that where just to explain it, they kind of go over the top of that.
I see a little bit of cheese and bad in these kind of films.
Hey.
You know, we're not all as smart as you, Chris, and want that mystique of the silent stare.
yeah, I only watch Inception on Luke.
Exactly, right?
Really like the point at the end where he doesn't actually he knows who Spider-Man is, but he doesn't tell anyone.
He still has
all the villains
and
and shit, and like, yeah.
So, Nino, favorite film alert: Thor Ragnarok, 2017. Taika Waititi. Should we just stop the podcast here?
Dude, the music, I like this. One of the huge points. The music, the original opening scene. I could have watched that like 20 times. You know, I could just like.
It's so great. It's
so great. Like this is. It feels like a comic, right? It's a film where it's like this is.
Yes,
a comic,
exactly.
This is a comic book.
no shame in how
well.
cheesy.
No,
it is.
why would you be ashamed? You should be happy.
Exactly.
It embraces the cheese.
Taika
It embraces
Waititi.
the humor.
Yeah, he's a
Taika
genius
Waititi
director.
said- He's a genius. He said
Genius,
in interviews
fucking
that
so
he
good.
was like, when he was asked to do this massive thing, so much bigger than anything he ever done, he said where he approached it was, I scaled the story back. I peeled back all the layers of gods and everything to what it basically is, because that was something I was comfortable working with, which is a story about a man and his brother, and they're kind of lost and they need to get home because like something important's happening at home, and it's just like a road trip across the universe sort of thing.
Yeah.
And it was like when I thought of the plot line in those terms, like everything and how everything was supposed to happen, like clicked so much more for him and made the sense. Like it really shows that he really
Didn't he
understood what he
also-
was working with.
Didn't he also say that he thought the movie was going to flop real bad, and he was
Yeah.
really scared about it?
Yeah. Oh, man is humble, but yeah, no, he was just constantly like. There was the biggest budget he ever worked with by like orders of magnitude, and he just, you know, he was like, "There's no way that this is what people want," because it was so different.
And the best part of it are the characters, which is just fantastic, right? It's not the effects, it's not the fights, it's
Which are
the
also
characters
great.
mainly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're
obviously,
good,
obviously.
but
the characters are great, you know, like
It's so
the
fun.
side
good.
characters.
It's
The
so
side
good.
characters are
I
fantastic.
think it might be even
development
too
is
funny for the movie's own good. Like,
No.
But there's a lot of like serious, like really intense, like dude, like the bit at the bottom when he's like, you know, asking him, "Are you the god of hammers?" Like, I swear to God, that's like the best line ever written. It's like so
It
damn
is.
good.
I mean, it's telling, I think, that Chris Hemsworth said going into Endgame that he was scared that Joe and Anthony Russo were going to try and take Thor back more to the character that he was before, because he said, you know, it was just a bit bland. He was a bit two-dimensional and done and nothing really deep and interesting to him. And you could tell Chris Hemsworth was having a time of his life with everyone doing the Thor and Valkyrie scene, Thor and Loki, Thor and Hulk.
God, that moment with Thor and Loki when they talk about the story with the snakes.
Yeah, it's so good, man.
That's
Or doing Get Help, and then later on, I'm not doing Get Help.
One of my favorite moments from the movie, the obvious, like, I've been falling for 30 minutes.
Which is also, that's good, because that reintroduces Stephen Strange, where he has a moment with Thor.
It's true.
Everything about that film is tight.
It's so well done.
Like the comedy is just tight, like when Stephen Strange like refilling his beer glass and stuff, just like it's like a half-second joke, and it just slots in at the perfect moment. He's like a sniper with jokes. He just just taking heads.
Yeah.
Black Panther 2018. Damn. Not Thor Ragnarok, unfortunately. No. I mean, I don't hate Black Panther. I actually quite like Black Panther.
Yeah,
very hype.
It's one of me that's like good, but like kind of average if you look at all of it.
Kind of
very hyped.
Different reasons.
Very hyped.
Of course, yeah.
Very hyped, but I liked it. I liked it a lot.
But Black Panther is your favorite character, right, Tom? I believe that's the impression I get, at least.
In a way, because, well, cats are my favorite animal. So any hero with cats or like tigers or
where's Dogman?
Anything like that, anything like that is gonna be near the top of my favorites, obviously. So like, I was very hyped for him. Also a bit different, right? Because it introduces a whole new country and shit, and a whole new culture that was not in before.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the
which
big-
introduces so many new things, new possibilities and stuff.
Wakanda's really cool. Wakanda actually I find much more like engaging and interesting than like any of the space civilizations they visit in Guardians of the Galaxy or
It
anything. I
actually
mean,
shows up
Yeah.
so much more as
Yeah.
well. Like,
and to be fair, in the Guardians they visit like a bunch of different ones, and there's like some cool places like Nowhere where they do the mining and like the Nova Core planet and whatever.
I don't know.
But,
I
like-
like the concept of Wakanda a lot, but I think they could have explored it a lot more than they did. You
They
kind of
could,
only see
yeah.
the council room, a shot of the city, one street.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's fair.
Oh, speaking
Black
of
Panther
villains, Black Panther has
There you go.
great villains.
Oh yeah,
Like both Andy Serkis
go.
and what's his
Killmonger
name?
and
I like Andy Serkis more than Killmonger, I think. Like by a good
Yeah,
amount.
I mean I like them for different reasons. They're obviously very different.
Killmonger was like a bit maybe a little over top. Like I mean, I really liked it, but for me it wasn't quite right. I don't know.
yeah.
Mm,
I just think Black Panther suffered from like there were some films like okay, what do we think is really good? We think Captain America: The Winter Soldier is good, but the two preceding films were Iron Man 3 and Thor: The Dark World. Black Panther comes after Civil War, Doctor Strange, Guardians 2, Spider-Man: Homecoming, and Thor: Ragnarok. It is a tough.
Yeah.
Like there hasn't been a bad film at this point since Age of Ultron 3 years ago. It's hard.
But it's
to-
like the
to
only
keep
one that got
really good.
nominated for the Oscars, right? I think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's
I mean,
that was
I'm not gonna say if you know anything else,
Let's-
that means in my
let's-
mind
yeah,
you're a better
let's not
film.
fucking-
but, like,
Yeah.
that's America.
But I mean, Black
And-
Panther was just aimed at American audiences. You can
That's true.
tell with the
Yeah,
slave
yeah.
history, with
Yeah. Unlike Captain America, oddly enough, that there was a film that's going to be aimed at American audiences. Okay, let's get through Infinity War fast because obviously, again, a lot to talk about in Infinity War.
yeah.
But let's just accept that it sets the story up well. You know, everyone's still kind of split up. The bit in Scotland's nice. All of that's got some cool moments. But let's kind of talk about how it gets up to the snap. Because the snap is obviously the culmination and probably the most interesting ending to a Marvel film yet.
I have two
Right.
things to say about Infinity
Yes.
War.
Film
One,
and setup.
It's a better movie than Endgame, I think. Just like how it's made.
Mm,
It has so much to do, like 40 characters to get together.
Yeah.
To introduce, and the second point is to introduce Thanos. It's basically a Thanos movie, as it's been said.
it's definitely, yeah. I had a bit of a bad kind of experience in the movie,
Ooh.
in the cinema, right? Because like
Shut yourself. So film, you know.
it was like you could see like and through the movie I could see like the people didn't really know what they were getting themselves into, right? I know
These
basically where
amateurs.
where the story was gonna go, and I was very excited for it. But like for the reaction
Oh, they
around me,
were
it
surprised
was
by
like
everything.
they were surprised by everything, by
Yeah.
how Thanos did well. But
Yeah.
I in a way I loved it in the end, but everyone was like just like what? Like,
Yeah, what the fuck?
oh, it's like oh shit movie and shit. I was like, yeah,
Like I was talking about.
you don't know what's coming, boy, bitches.
Yeah, and she like you had no idea what it was, and when she was talking about the snap, she was like, "What happened at the end?" Like they were dead, and I was like, "Yeah, I guess." Like, yeah,
Yeah, the movie ends with a banger and begins with a banger with when they're on the Asgardian ship. Thanos is there.
Yeah.
Everybody's down. Everybody's dead. Loki dies. Heimdall dies. Hulk gets sent back and humiliated. And everything in between is just a roller coaster.
One of the most interesting good comparisons to make, I think, and Jacko, you touched on it earlier, is this is a Thanos movie, and the comparison to Thanos in Infinity War versus Thanos in Endgame. And you know, we can come back more to that when we get to the part of Endgame where Thanos gets introduced. But suffice it to say that it's. I wonder if there's like a little bit too much of a discrepancy between those two characters. There's part of it to me. Some of Thanos in Endgame felt weird to me after some of Thanos in Infinity War. Does that make sense to anyone?
Yeah.
In Infinity War, Thanos has this idealized vision of the future. He's gonna snap half the universe, and everything is gonna prosper. But in Endgame, he sees that even after he won, but people still came for him. People killed him, and people still want to change stuff. It didn't help. It didn't work. That's why he changes his plan. He sees plan didn't work.
Yeah.
That's why he's like, I'm gonna just redo the whole universe.
But he
You know,
seems
it's a
happy about
different
it.
attitude.
But he seems happy about it. But surely, if he was like he's sad his plan failed, right? Surely he shouldn't be happy that this is the extreme he's going.
He's insane.
Yeah.
He is insane. Like he.
Okay, but yeah, if you want to say like his character, but he's turned insane, sure. But like,
No, I mean like
So
He was always
Ant-Man and the
insane.
Wasp,
No, yeah.
everyone's favorite MCU film.
never seen this one.
I liked it.
If there's anybody whose
It was
favorite
fine.
movie is Ant-Man and the Wasp, I will You clap for
If
that.
anyone-
It's not that it has to be your least favorite. I just think that there's just really not a
It's just
huge amount going
it's
for
a
it.
nothing movie, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Alright, I won't watch it. I
No.
guess I won't watch it.
Captain Marvel.
Haven't seen it.
What
I
the
liked
fuck?
it more than most.
Captain Marvel to me felt too much like the. If it was a lot shorter, it could have been the bit before like the title screen of Endgame, right? It was just setting up Captain Marvel to have her role in Endgame.
Yeah.
Which
that was
kind of didn't matter in the end, but whatever.
Well, I mean, yes, it
Well,
kinda
yeah, we
did.
can talk
But
about
I
that.
love the switch around of the villains in a way.
Yeah, except you could tell they were going to be a bad guy because Jude Law. He's
Shit,
always a
I'm
bad guy.
getting spoilers. I didn't realize. Oh, fuck.
In a way, the Skrulls are usually like the obvious bad guy.
Yeah.
But they get humanized in a way,
Yeah.
and it's not that bad.
Not the MCU's strongest switcheroo, and I felt the jokes fell so like if I had to make a comparison, the jokes
See-
just fall so much flatter than Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah, that
I
definitely.
Like the
mean,
whole thing with the cast and everything was funny, but like was it
worth all
like,
those scenes.
was it like stabbing 3 vampires with the thing like that joke funny when it was less funny than the wooden vampire stabbing thing, and it took up like a couple of orders of magnitude more time in the movie.
One big thing I would really wish they would, but not necessarily change, but just show more directly, is showing that Captain Marvel's powers, that her powers include a lot of absorbing other like energies, so she becomes stronger. So she,
I
because
didn't know that.
through most, yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
There you
like,
go.
I only
'Cause
saw
it's
Endgame, and
so-
I have no idea.
Yeah,
what
I
happens.
just know
It's
she
so-
goes Super
like,
Saiyan.
See, like,
but-
she absorbs power, and then like she can like expend power, and she gets stronger with that.
Ah.
And that is not shown.
There's
And
no
that's why
Black Panther suit,
she
though, so-
feels
Yeah.
it's not shown. This is the same as an Endgame. Like she grabs the gauntlet and the gems, and he can't punch her without the power.
Dude,
Stuff.
she would be OP with the gems then if she can just absorb all the power.
Yeah,
Well, Hulk
Pretty
has like
much.
this is actually not really explored in the MCU, but Hulk has like a similar thing in the comics.
Yeah,
Like,
right.
his strength
Yeah.
is like
Yeah.
theoretically limitless because it scales
Yeah.
with his anger. It's like the longer
Yeah.
he fights,
He
the
shouldn't be
angrier he
able to
gets,
ever be
the more-
defeated because if he
he,
loses,
like-
he gets angry and then wins. Like
Yeah.
it's
So that was Captain Marvel.
Here we go. Only 20 minutes in through the MCU movies.
Only 20 minutes.
up to Endgame.
Yeah, so it set up 21 movies before. It's the final conclusion of like more than 10 years. Crazy.
Did anyone else see it at midnight?
no.
I couldn't. No.
Did anyone see it like within like with like a lively audience within like a
Yeah.
few
Yes.
My
months?
audience.
Yes,
My audience
I
is
wa-
pretty empty.
I watched it. I watched it on Friday after it came out.
Okay, fair.
That may be
You just
like
need the
half
movie
the
in.
Because like that was the reason I really had to go back and catch it the second time, was like all the lines I missed because people were cheering the first time.
I didn't have that problem.
Subtitles,
You
baby.
could just read those Chinese subtitles. Like
I feel like I was probably one of the louder ones at the cool moments.
I definitely was.
Dude.
Yeah.
Especially at
remember-
the
No one cheered at any point in the film.
Yeah, This is interesting. Like, it's a very different
culture, right? Yeah.
My movie theater was filled, but pretty quiet, except for the.
Dude, I get annoyed if people cheer in the middle of a film. I'd be like, shut up.
I mean, it
Yeah.
depends. If the really cool moments, like
Yeah.
They don't
it's
clap,
Captain
but they
America
laugh.
with the
It's not a very
hammer,
British thing.
that was like
Yeah.
No,
and like the Avengers Assemble, that was another one. Like
It's not a very British thing. I think it just had to be like, for the
yeah, for Midnight I understand it entirely. Like, I'd be surprised if it wasn't. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the
So
hard
the film opens sadly with Hawkeye's family getting
God
busted.
damn.
What a sad scene. That apparently was actually originally filmed for Infinity War, but they ended up pushing it to Endgame.
Really?
Just a
It
good
works
transition,
great
I think,
both
'cause
ways.
It just
Yeah.
goes into the tone of like the first part of the movie, which
Yeah.
where everything's sad and somber. They're
yeah,
dealing
I mean,
with
Yeah.
snap.
Like, we haven't really said what our thoughts are about like the other two kind of people in the Avengers, right? Like, we have Natalie and Hawkeye, and like they've been in it before, like
Yeah,
always, but
they're kind
it's
of
like it's weird, right? But they are
side characters
Avengers.
almost.
Yeah,
They're
side characters, right?
they're the humanizing.
Exactly.
of the
But it's
group.
weird that like, you know, we talk about all these films in it, and they're in like so few, despite the fact they are, you know, like big
Yeah.
main characters.
they've been in it for a long
They're
time.
fucking great, both.
Yeah, I mean, I really like them. I really
Black-
like
yeah,
this first bit.
Black Widow is still getting apparently her own weirdly, spoiler alert for later, her own solo.
Yeah, it's
film.
like it's probably gonna be.
So
Like,
But I'm of the
version
opinion that should be almost like a duo film with her and Hawkeye. Like,
Yeah.
it's
it would
probably
make
gonna
sense.
be.
But like,
Well,
I don't even see
we might-
Village, just a Black Widow.
We might
Village
see
and-
Budapest. We might see
You guys-
Budapest,
you
boys.
guys
Finally,
see,
finally.
I mean, they must, right? They must.
Do you guys see the Bourne film with Jeremy Renner?
Yeah,
No.
Wasn't that
Like
bad?
I watched someone's like review of that where it was like dubbed over as if it were like a film about Hawkeye. It made so much sense. It was really good.
I can see it.
But like, I think it should be billed as like a duo film. I don't think it should be a Black Widow film. I
Yeah.
think it
Anyway, his family gets dusted, and it's
Yeah.
it's all very sad. It's actually a really kind of heart wrenching moment. A really
Yeah.
good way. He sort of turns back in his
Jesus, man, yeah.
turns back in
Great
his family.
timing. Yeah.
It's really unlucky, man. What's that? Got to be like 1 to the power, like 2 to the power 4 chance of that happening. You know, that's unlucky right there.
Then you get Tony and Gamora in drifting.
Gamora, not Gamora.
Not Gamora.
Uh,
Nebula. Sorry,
Nebula.
you don't get Gamora. Gamora's
I fucking love that. I fucking love.
The football.
I love that. I love that because like at the end he's like, "You've won," and she's like,
Yeah.
"What is this? I've never had this before."
Nebula
It
is a weird
really
character.
shows-
Kind of. I hated her in Guardians of the Galaxy 2 because she was way too. She didn't feel the tone of the
She's-
movie. But the way she
she's-
grows in this one is great. They did a good
She's the
job.
product. She's the product of upbringing.
Specifically to the Guardians films, I've always viewed the Guardians films. I came out the first one thinking very much this. The first Guardians film felt so much like a D&D campaign to me.
Hmm.
Like watching, you know, a wacky party and everyone going off and disagreeing.
Everyone get together in
Oh.
prison and then
And
escape.
Gamora in that, not Gamora, like, Nebula in that context is the too edgy assassin.
Yeah.
Character,
The Tom character, basically.
Hey,
When she tucks Tony into
Yes.
bed in space is nice.
It's cute.
It's cute. And then
It fits.
Captain Marvel kind of turns up and saves them.
Yeah, like
Kind
Captain.
of
How did
plot
Captain Marvel
device.
find him? I'm kind of confused.
Then
She-
he-
she
then he-
flew the way to the planet.
Okay, does it explain that in Captain Marvel? Or you just have to realize that.
Isn't it said once they come down that she kind of flew off to find them?
Yeah.
They knew where they were, where they went.
So they flew for 48 hours in a spaceship. That got to cover a lot of ground, right?
Anyway, Captain Marvel.
That is very
saves them.
convenient,
There's Ex
yeah.
Machina.
Very
It's very convenient,
convenient,
but it
very
leads
It's not a
to
Deus Ex.
one of my favorite parts of the film, of which there are a lot. But getting back to Earth,
Hmm.
Tony, and then and a discussion, the meeting outside the plane or the spaceship, and then discussion they have where they talk about everything that's happening. The way when he looks to Steve and says, "I lost the kid," and you just know that Tony's broken. You just
Yeah.
it's like,
That's
he's
So
a
God, that's-
broken, and then the breakdown he has inside, which ends up with him being tucked into bed, is probably Robert Downey Jr.'s best acting in the
Yeah,
MCU.
I was about to say, like, the acting, I think in Endgame, the acting's fucking great. Like, I think a lot of characters realize this is like my last chance for this character to, send them off right, and they blew it out the park, I think.
And you're right, Chris. Like it's a continuation of like Civil War, right? Like the relationship between them in that scene where they have that conflict and Tony starts yelling and stuff. That's
You
all
said we did
emotion.
work together too, and then we did
Yeah.
lose. And love there is so.
It's like, it's like, it's more like even that they're almost like brothers to me. Like, they're not like friends, it's more like brothers to me who fight, right? Like, you
That's-
you
this-
can't get away from them. And,
This
like,
is
they
the
are-
benefit of a cinematic universe, right? Is you can have
Yeah.
these character interactions. This is what
Yeah.
makes Endgame so great that other
Yeah.
films haven't.
The only
had.
point of me, it's like it's not even like friends what they are anymore. Like obviously they are, but they're like close in that, but also like, don't have the same relationship. It's not like a friendly, it is to me more. It is family, right? They always say like we're her family, about Natalia and everything, and it's like
Tony, he gets angry at Captain, goes out of commission, sort of collapses, and the group of them decide to take matters into their own hands. There's a bit of
One
weird
thing-
science exposition.
In this scene,
There you
one
go.
thing I really like is Thor actually, because he can like when he's
Yeah.
sitting there and he's just fucking mad at himself and he's depressed. And in Infinity War, like the best scene is where he's talking with Rocket Raccoon about like his past and how many people he's lost and just his progression as well.
He's gonna have
Up until we beat him again.
one of the
after that.
saddest character stories ever, right? Like, when
Yeah.
you think about what
Well, yeah.
happened to his fucking
His-
people, right? His race. Like,
His grim resolve through Infinity War. This is what's so perfect because
Yeah.
so this is the bit where Thor goes and they go off and other things happen, but they kill Thanos at the end of this scene. And talking specifically about Thor up until this point is so he loses everything and he spends all of Infinity War with this kind of like grim
Yeah.
humor about it.
Yeah.
He grins at you, but like he's sad, but he jokes, not
that scene.
only if it kills me and stuff.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
and then he fails, and then he kills Thanos, and it doesn't even matter. And it's just it's so
And
utterly
he's
destroying.
kind of right because he was the only
Yeah.
one who had the power to stop Thanos.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he kind of fucks up.
And
he
as a
does
cat-
fuck up. He entirely
Yeah.
fucks up. Yeah.
The only issue I have with Thor's character really is that he has too many of these kind of redemption arcs. Like the first film is a redemption arc, and the second film is kind of a redemption, or like the third film is definitely a redemption arc.
Yeah.
And then this is kind of the same thing again. But what I like about this is where it takes him after this.
Mm.
he doesn't just kind of bounce back from this.
This is a serious one.
It's also, it shows this very strong, very powerful alien god person. He's fallible as any human. Basically, he's not that different. That's what it shows. Perhaps he's even more fallible, right?
And the subversion of just killing Thanos off that early in the film
Fucking love this.
it
was so fast, right? Like it was
it's literally like
20 minutes.
within like 20 seconds.
It's just
20 minutes.
20 minutes,
yeah, and also just the pace at which it happens.
Just
in the
they go in there,
Thanos
he
is
dead.
He like turns to Nebula, he's saying something like, "Perhaps I was wrong about you, or perhaps I treated you too harshly," and axe comes. I went for the head. Thank you for the delivery.
Speaking of people laughing in the audience, people actually laughed at that line, which I don't think was supposed to be that.
No, it's not. It's like kind of sad, right? Really,
it's a sad laugh. It's just like the sad laugh.
But we were like, "Oh, callback, yay!"
There's a few of those in the MCU. Funny things you're not supposed to laugh at.
Yeah.
But I also really liked the moments in the spaceship when they're going through tunnels between Captain America and Black Widow, and they're like, "This gonna work." Yeah, of course it is, because I'm not sure what I'm gonna do if it doesn't.
Yeah,
I don't really get that line. I'm gonna be like, that sounds like Captain America was like, "This will sound cool if I say it." And he like says it. I'm like,
kind of like this is my last chance, right? Like I've never failed before.
It's not saying this like, but like this is gonna work because it's my last chance.
Because
it just seems a little bit over the top.
This is a character built on like optimism and like it's always gonna work out if we try hard enough. And then they fucking fail. But yeah.
So
it's all day.
And then you get the slow roll on the time skip because the word 5 comes up, and then it keeps you there for like a good 5 or 6 seconds before.
I just want to mention, goddamn, fucking subtitle translators, because it's like when 5 appeared.
Oh, just 5 years later.
5 years later, no,
I
think that might happen as well.
Because I personally, I thought there was going to be some. Because you can tell from the trailer there's going to be some future scenes, right? I thought they were going to time travel as a future. I didn't think they were actually just going to. But they do it well. You have that, and then you have the scene where it's Natasha and Natasha kind of running Shield now.
The Avenger building of this.
It's not the Shield. The Avengers, and she's talking to Captain Marvel. Like someone said something like the bit that what's her face, the Wakandan general says about an earthquake is like setting up X-Men. I don't really know about that.
It is.
People are saying it's setting up Namor.
Okay,
I can see that.
I don't know who that is, but I can see.
He's kind of like the Aquaman, but edgy.
Sounded like it, yeah.
I've shared this fan theory with everyone who'll listen. I'm still convinced that the rat that saves Scott is Loki.
Doctor Strange.
This is some incarnation of Loki.
That to be
like who's turned up to who's try and travel himself, like save himself to like preserve his own existence. Maybe it'll happen. Maybe
for me. That's the weakest part of the movie, the rats.
That's the weakest part.
Because I know it's like 1 in 14 million coincidences. But the fact that the rat is in that van, in that warehouse, touches that one button and releases Ant-Man, I hate it so much.
But you would prefer it if it was just like a random guy, like like
a janitor or a criminal who's trying to steal, someone with the know-how, or like that. Oh, maybe if I press this button, something will happen. Something more than a random rat.
So while Scott walks around and explores the changed world, and he sees his kid, doesn't he?
Yeah,
he's
a kid.
Because he's looking out for his kid if his kid got snapped.
Yeah, and he does that cool one. It's really cool to see where he goes to look at all like the memorials. Who got snapped. Like that's very cool to see like the scale and just see the people who like 5 years later are still coming to like see their loved ones' names. Yeah, I think that's pretty cool.
And then you have the scene with Steve running the therapy session, or not? It's not a therapy session. It's like a group counseling session. For people who have lost loved ones, and you've got. It's either Joel or Anthony. I can't actually tell the Russos apart, but one of them is the gay one who like talks about it is like
went on a date.
Fun fact: the other person who speaks in that circle that asks, I don't know exactly what he asks. That's the creator of Thanos from the comics.
Oh, nice. It's like a couple of cameos in there.
Yeah, that's cute.
And I like that thing. I like that Steve took on when there wasn't anything left to fight. He took on. He kept being his role of a helpful figure to people, but instead of by punching robots, it was by, establishing help and giving people what hope he could.
Yeah.
But then he goes back and has that scene with Matt, and they talk about how they can't but not us. Like people move on, but they keep telling people to move on, but we can't. We can't do that.
Speaking of great acting,
so good.
I think Scarlett Johansson in this movie is probably the best actor. I think, for me at least, because that scene where she's crying after the meeting, and then Captain America walks
that's
in,
true.
and she
It's really
immediately goes back to her normal facade.
Yeah. But she's still wiping the tears, and there's like a donut on a plate or something, and they just
Peanut butter sandwich.
Peanut butter sandwich,
Yeah.
thanks. And
Sandwich.
they have like nice, just
I watched it quite recently.
they got a nice just rapport, those two. And I feel like a lot kind of goes unspoken between them as characters. They kind of get each other.
Yeah.
Things are shared with looks. And then Scott turns up. He's got a crazy idea.
It's got to show up.
There's like they blur in my head a little bit, but the various scenes where people are like trying to explain time travel to each other in like the context of like Back to the Future and
There's like
stuff.
Scott goes in and like says we can do it, and I would say Scott clearly doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about, but he's just like trying to convince them to do what they're saying.
God just has an interesting type of theory, but he has no fucking clue of it. Would he?
Yeah. He just knows that like the last 5 years, like 5 hours for him. Or something,
5 hours for him.
that's all he
Yeah.
knows.
So he's like, oh, maybe we can.
He's like, sometimes shit happens, you know. Like I don't know what. Yeah.
So they go and ask someone who does know what he's talking about. They go and ask Tony, who, oh my god, that kid was so cute.
The kid is so
Just
cute.
everything about that kid is just so
Like, man, Tony, you
My
got a good
God,
life there.
perfect.
Yeah.
I can fully empathize with Tony not wanting to like risk giving that
I
up.
can
'cause,
completely
like,
understand. Like,
Yeah.
exactly.
I like the fact that at the start of the movie, Tony was the most broken one. Like the most, everything went to shit for him. The most he lost Peter, and everyone else was like a level less fucked up in a way, except for Thor, obviously, right?
Still had hope, yeah, sure.
But but then like after the time skip, he's gotten himself into the best place.
He's the only one who's moved on. He's literally the only one. Who
Exactly. Yeah,
moved on.
exactly.
Because he's got to move on.
They were lucky,
too,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Because his most loved ones didn't.
Yeah, he
go
can move on
bye-bye.
to something else. Like a lot of them don't have anything to move
Yeah.
on to, right? Like,
Yeah,
I will
exactly.
say it's really hard to set up a movie and like to set up a child in a movie that you care about, and it doesn't annoy, at least for me. But that I Love You 3000 scene.
Oh yeah. And he
like,
goes back and says to Pepper, "I don't want to turn us into competition, but she's 3,000."
So you're like in the 600 to 900.
I'm living the parent, like the kind of proud parent thing with them at that moment. So it's understandable when Tony says, I like it because he's nice to them and he says, you know, you can come in for dinner as long as you don't talk about.
We don't talk shop.
Don't talk shop. Exactly, that's the term he uses. He says.
Oh yeah.
You can't, you know.
What do they call that in Chinese?
But Tony, you know, Tony's Tony, so he works away at the problem, and everyone else goes off to see another surprise. You know, surprise kid, surprise this, surprise that, and now it's surprise Professor Hulk.
I'm not sure how I feel about Professor Hulk. I kind of go back and forth with it.
I love it.
Like Professor Hulk.
I love it.
I like it a lot, but I miss aspects of both of them. I miss aspects of each one.
He doesn't get enough screen time.
Guy.
Like he explains what happened. Like he realized the Hulk, you know, was not a disease. Or whatever.
It'd be so cool to see how that happened. Like, so cool.
That's the most
So
important
cool.
part of his character.
You think we might see that from the Disney Plus shows? I'm not sure what else.
I didn't even know there were Disney Plus shows.
I agree.
Yeah,
It's like,
their stuff's gonna come out, but I'm not sure exactly what.
if I were allocating more screen time to plot lines for this film, it's high on the list of things I'd add more to, but I still don't think I'd add any more. Even then, it's like there's just.
No, I don't agree. I think at these scenes, at this part of the movie we're in right now, I kind of don't like how fast it goes. Like it's the introduction of Hulk, the introduction of everyone.
Maybe,
help.
yeah.
The whole time travel could have been like fleshed out so much more.
It's already a long movie. I don't think.
Yeah, I think it would have been a trilogy.
However, the stuff where like you would have to cut stuff out of like the fights and
No, I can't see cutting.
Personal preference,
out.
right?
Yeah.
Like what you prefer.
So what I do really like about it though is seeing it's so satisfying for me for Hulk's character arc, even if we've skipped a big chunk of it, to see him on Earth, accepted and loved by the people, not like the hated.
Yes, exactly.
Like dabbing for selfies with kids. And stuff.
He is also someone who moved on, but in a different way. Right?
Yeah.
And this movie is kind of like the emotional center almost, and like for the team. And that's so weird for.
He's the optimist, He's the optimist.
It spawned so many fantastic.
It's like I like Professor Hulk more than I liked Bruce almost, but I miss like the actual Hulk as like a superhero.
Yes,
Because that was so
like
so
He needs to be able to get actually mad
you
stuff.
need to actually
interesting in
lose
Ragnarok,
control,
right?
like-
Exactly. That's who he is. Like,
I really think they've retired him though, like with the arm sling and everything. He'll be like a
Yeah.
background,
I agree.
advising character from.
But that's a
Professor.
shame.
Professor.
kind of
Yeah,
like Beast
exactly.
from the X-Men.
Yeah, exactly.
But dude, like but like just his scenes in like his scene in the original Avengers are like my favorite scenes. I'd admit that's never gonna happen
Hulk,
again.
smash.
That's
It's that character.
Attempting to time travel
Yeah.
with Scott. That's some good fun.
It's a little comedy thrown in, you know.
Baby
Oh,
Scott,
fucking
See this
love
as an absolute win. Yeah.
Oops. One more. Only one
Good
test.
for the memes.
And they can't get it working. But meanwhile, across the world, or I say across the world, across the states, I guess, Tony and his inverted Mobius strip have.
Yeah.
I mean, like, okay, you got to give it a pass on the scientific gold.
Yeah, I don't give a shit, right? Like,
Right, like,
if they're gonna make time
fuck
travel seem
that.
reasonable, they're gonna do it. You know, they should fucking invent it.
you got Tony and his kid, and the swear word moment is anybody who's ever hung out with like a 6-year-old knows that. But then Tony goes to Pepper, and the conversation he has with her about whether or not he's gonna like what he should do.
Yeah.
He's saying I could just throw it all away.
Yeah.
Yeah, which also
She
I think could
says
have been.
you won't. She says we both.
Yeah, we all.
won't.
Yeah.
I think that conflict could have also been a little more drawn out, but I like how they do
Yeah.
it in that scene.
Well,
Okay,
yeah. I mean,
I like it because it shows like they know each other.
Pepper
Yeah.
battling
They know
Tony
each other.
has been explored.
I really like Pepper in that scene because it just shows their relationship.
Oh, like should
So
he?
the conflict within himself. I think that.
Yeah, I like. I mean, a part of it is, watching a film what he's going to choose, right? So there's no tension
Yeah.
there.
Hey man, I should be
Yeah,
like, no,
and
we'll
It
figure out
makes
another
sense
way.
for the character. It
Secondly,
makes sense
like,
for the character as well.
I
That's right.
like the way Pepper is at peace with, and around those two, there's some more at peace coming up toward the end of the film. But like, is at peace with the man she's fallen in love with. She's like, if Tony wasn't the man who would run off and save the world, then he wouldn't be the man he is, and
Yeah,
I
of
wouldn't
course.
love him. So it's just what I have to.
And
It's a martyrdom to her, but she sends him off bravely. She's sort of Cat Stark.
You can almost show that their relationship has been together for another 5 years, right? Like it seems like
Yeah.
they're
more
just.
connected than it was before, right?
don't.
Yeah.
They're a proper couple.
And there's a great bit of foreshadowing in that conversation as well, where she's like, "But if you were to throw it all away, would you be able to rest?"
Yeah. Yeah. You can rest. Oh gosh. Anyway. So Thor. So then they got to go and recruit a team because Tony comes up. And is like, let's make some. This is what you've done wrong, Banner. Let's do some proper time traveling.
Yeah.
So there's a Banner and it's Rocket, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
You
Banner
have
and
to recruit Thor.
So-
Probably one of the more contentious things in terms of fan reactions was Fat Thor.
Wait, was it?
A lot
Makes
of
so
people
much sense.
hated it so much.
Really?
Most of my exposure to fan reaction, I'll admit, was like reading the first 12 hours of responses on like the Reddit thread of such movies. Like, but there was like that was the thing that a lot of people were like, I hate that they ruined the character. And then
Oh, that's
so-
fucking
Ruined.
insane.
But the comedy, the Fortnite, but even I mean, it dates the film, as in it firmly fixes it at the
It's
point of
so
time.
funny.
So
But, like, it's
next
so good.
next MCU villain, Noob Master 69.
Of course, yeah.
So that, like the
Still
people said,
put
I
a
want that to
mighty
be how they
power.
introduced. That's how they introduced Deadpool. Like that's gonna
He just walks in like,
Personally,
"Hey,
I
I heard you
love
talking
that.
shit."
Yeah. But no, like I love the scene so much. Like,
But yeah,
And that
It-
moment
it-
where Thanos is mentioned and Thor just
yeah,
goes
yeah.
from like happy
so good.
to serious.
And like
It's
we
like,
don't talk about it.
don't
Like,
Hemsworth's
mention that
acting
name.
is so
Right?
good.
It's like I'm not scared of that name. Why would I be scared of the name? But don't say that name. Like
Yeah.
it's kind of
It's like
Hemsworth's
we-
acting is so good.
yeah.
Yeah.
From like Ragnarok, Infinity War,
Both funny and serious.
amazing.
it's
Yes.
like I always say people say
Always.
that's the real trilogy of Thor, right? It's Ragnarok,
Yeah,
Infinity, and Endgame, and it is like that's like where he really. Yeah.
I liked it. Oh, and then you get to see a bit of
That's really
Korg and a bit of Meek.
Yeah,
A bit
yeah.
of
Always
Valkyrie.
good.
Yeah, just to see that all these people are living their lives, you know. Valkyrie's
And-
like, had to spend 5 years as a fucking fisherwoman, I guess.
Doesn't seem alcoholic, which is interesting.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
strange that. I
Yeah,
guess.
Thor's taken that role over.
Yeah. She's like, is that what I was like?
Drinking
Oh,
all the beer.
fuck.
Um,
Yeah.
And then, meanwhile, Clint is being recruited by the only person who could, Natasha.
super
Like,
edgy
yeah.
Clint.
I'm not sure. If
Super
I like,
edgy.
I'm not sure if I like
it.
what
It's-
I like.
it was short enough that I liked it. Just
No, I mean, I
yeah.
don't mind the getting him back. I'm just not sure if I buy his motivation is just like let you kill.
to go and
my
just like
gangs.
slaughter people.
It seems
Yeah.
a bit sort of like
It makes sense
It makes
because
sense. I
it's
hate
very
it.
much like my good family, good
Mhm.
people, they got dusted, but these bad guys didn't.
yeah, like
Fuck them.
it makes
Right.
sense. But when I look at the other people, like what happened to Saul, and what looks
Yeah,
like happened to
no.
Hulk, and what happened to like all these people,
Yeah,
I feel
it's
like
a very
it's just
weak
not quite. It's not as
character,
impactful what happened to his character.
I think
Like-
we would need more background info for that to make maybe more sense.
yeah, which I would.
It's on paper
Yeah.
it makes sense, but as directors you take a risk, and they've done it several times. Even just this film, they do it several times. You take a risk where you show the cause of something, his family disappearing, and then the
Yeah.
effect of it later, and you just let people kind of mentally intuit the middle ground there.
Sure.
And like sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And I agree. I think this is one of the cases where it works less well, where you
Okay.
do just kind of.
It works, but I don't. Yeah, not as good as any.
But
of
I
the
don't,
other,
I don't
like-
think people
Yeah,
can
yeah,
take it
obviously.
as seriously as well because of that trailer where they showed a shot of him like in the rain with his edgy costume, turning
that
around his
hood and
mohawk.
wiping the sword on his arm.
Yeah.
The character arc has helped and redeemed a little bit by the bit where they send him back and he like
Yeah.
gets
Yeah,
that
I
like,
really like that.
tantalizing
Yeah.
glimpse of his family.
I'm
again.
very glad they chose him for that. Like that.
Yeah.
It was
So-
good. And it's like this kind of the bit where they subtly establish the main premise. It's possible to go back in time and bring a thing back to the
Wait.
future with the glove he brings.
I do have one
Mm.
question though, because you
yeah.
guys like Ant-Man more than I do. How did you feel about Ant-Man in this movie? Did you like him? Or...
I
thought
think
it
he
was
was
great.
overused a little bit.
Yeah,
A
I think he's a little bit
little-
overused, and he's a little bit more idiotic than he should be. Like
Yeah,
he's
like,
not a
the scene-
genius.
The
and
scenes where
he's-
like Rocket Raccoon like makes fun of him for like 5 scenes in a row. I'm like, this is a little.
Yeah, and
That's Rocket. He makes
Ant-Man's
fun
one
of
of those
it.
Yeah,
characters.
but, like-
It's one of those characters with a difference in writing styles between the movies and for each character. Like is more glaring. It's like you can kind of his jokes sort of sit a little sort of tilt shifted from
Yeah.
kind of wherever else's characters inhabit a scene.
Like it's not like I don't dislike him at all. Like I like Ant-Man quite a lot as a character, and I like him a lot.
really
but like
like
for instance,
Paul Rudd.
I'm very glad they chose Hawkeye to go back at the same time instead of him. It's that kind of shit.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of thing
Yeah.
where if he'd gone back then that would have been like too much. And like this is okay because like it's someone else. But I think they were close to like the line. But I think it was fine.
So having established with thankfully Hawkeye, not Ant-Man, that you can send people back, they gather around to have that. Okay. Maybe this is a scene I'm less certain of. The planning meeting where they sort of bring up like holograms of the stones one by one, and like Thor talks about the ether and kind of like goes off on like I don't know if that was necessary for his like for
I
the
would
story they were telling of his character.
I would say that was necessary in a way for like the average viewer, who perhaps wouldn't remember everything.
Do agree with Chris that the long story of the ether and Thor bumbling on
Yeah,
was kind of a
It was
That's
just
it, a bit.
it was one of the like the sad fat Thor jokes that like
yeah,
didn't
and
quite-
everybody just
It didn't
looked
hit
at
as
him.
well. I don't hate
Like,
it though.
Yeah, it was just a bit
Yeah,
long.
no,
That's
okay.
it. Like
You
the
sort of
one
sound
where-
like fan sad. He almost sounded kind of drunken to me, like
When he
I
breaks down and
talked about
cries,
it.
Thor was
like,
drunk.
when he's-
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
He
but
was
that's what he was
drunk.
like. But he's like, oh, this is my old flame, blah blah blah.
Yeah,
I got
like,
introduced to my
he
parents.
starts,
Like,
he
I
starts
don't
off like as a kind of drunken frat boy and then kind of breaks down in tears. It's like it's just a bit
I
long.
didn't mind it. I didn't. Yeah, maybe
Yeah.
a little. Yeah.
I like the bit
I love
where-
that. I love that.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Where Tony calls him Lebowski as well. It's like,
Yeah.
Tony calls him Lebowski. I love.
Yeah. I mean, the quick jokes are instant. They're always more entertaining.
Yeah.
I put you just like that.
And then so they plan it, they figure out what they're going to do, and just so that people who are watching the podcast can remember exactly what is decided, they decide that there are 3 times they're going back to because those are the times where the Infinity Stones are. They're going to go back to New York during the first Avengers film because they're a present there. God help me. The
Reasons.
Time Stone, the Space Stone, and the Mind Stone all present.
All
there.
the New York, yeah.
In
Yeah.
Asgard is the ether,
Mhm.
just, and in
Morag,
Is
it's
ether just a
stone.
power stone? No,
In
wait.
the
What
space-
is
in the
ether? Like though, what is it?
the
The red
ether
one.
is
The
is
reality
stone,
Which one
and
that
then
was?
the
Yeah.
other group goes back to space, sort of just like I guess start of Guardians of the Galaxy time. When I guess again in theory go to Morag at any point, but it was a convenient time to like go to, and one group go to
Yeah.
Morag and one group would go to stop Quill from picking
Yeah.
up the Power Stone.
For me, I can't help but like wonder why they never got like Captain Marvel back for like any of like the time travel stuff. But she seems like
Because she
Yeah,
was
because,
away.
It's
No, she was
established
away.
but established they can like contact her, right? Or like maybe
yeah,
they
like
just
they
can't, I don't know.
they get
Well-
her for the final fight against Thanos. This is
Fa-
almost-
fa-
but
faster
that's
than light
as important as
communications.
that, right?
Faster than light communication needs some ground rules established in the
Yeah.
MCU. Like, can you just talk to
Yeah.
someone on the other side of the universe just like that? Like, I don't know.
Also, I feel like as you mentioned with the final fight, I see that like she starts heading back to Earth because the people reappeared on wherever she was.
Yeah, and it took a while for her to get there, I guess. But
Yeah, but
I'm not
still,
sure if
like,
there was any.
She's not that fast. She's not instant.
But they didn't have any
transportation across the
time
universe,
pressing.
She's
you know?
not
matters,
instant,
right?
no, but it was like
up until they go back in time, there's no
wasn't.
rush.
Yeah, Banner. So Banner goes for the time stone. He has that brief like the moment where they see him in Hulk form back in time, and then like he has a kind of half-hearted smashing, and he goes off to meet the ancient.
like
That was so funny.
It's good. It's good.
Nice to see Tilda Swinton back.
Yeah,
favorite actress.
Didn't expect it. Yeah.
I think their interaction with Hulk and her, it's very good. I think that's almost like in some way like one of the best, like getting the stones back.
Yeah,
I kind of expected like when she hit Bruce out that like Hulk is gonna be raging out.
I thought there'd be like two spirits.
Yes. I thought that Hulk would just stay around, just like smashing shit.
I thought like there'd be a banner spirit, like a Hulk spirit pushed out of him.
That'd be interesting. Yeah,
It's funny because they made like a distinction. Like the spirit that got pushed out was very much
Bruce.
Banner.
It was
Yeah. I liked the moment where you kind of there's good world building and kind of legend building and character building stuff. And the moment where like he says, "Why did Doctor Strange give it up?" and she just instantly changes her tune. She's like, "Oh wait, Doctor Strange gave it up. Okay, fucking take."
I mean, even at the start of the conversation where Hulk is like, "I'm looking for Banner," and she says like, "You're 5 years too early. He's over there performing an operation."
Yeah.
So great.
So yeah, and I like Hulk sunbathing with a hat over his face. And then Steve retrieves the Mind Stone, which actually is okay. So briefly, first there's like the scene from the start, like that captures the ending of A1 of the first Avengers.
It's really cool.
It's like everyone's kind of posing.
America's ass.
America's ass, and then Tony walks away. He's like, "Okay, guys, time enough for posing later."
I love it. I love it. And like skipping a little bit, but when they're like downstairs and like they're asking where they're going, and so it's like, "Well, we're gonna go for lunch," and then like, "Well, that's the fucking shawarma they had."
I didn't even hear the line. Shit.
Yeah. It's really.
No, it's I love
the moment in the elevator where he's Hail Hydra.
It's like watching deleted scenes. It's like watching deleted scenes from Avengers 1. And it's like any extra Avengers 1 content, I'm happy with any day of the week.
Cool.
So yeah, let's talk about Captain getting his Mind Stone back. In the comics, there's apparently an arc. I was vaguely aware there's apparently an arc where Captain America turns out to have like been a Hydra agent all along. That everyone really hated, and then much later on, it was revealed that he actually was a double agent.
I think it was like a few issues forward, but they're
okay.
It's like 3 or 4 issues later.
Everyone hated it, so like it was kind of a lot of people felt kind of cathartic with this. Like the Hail Hydra line was kind of
that was so good. That was
our hands of the story.
Also, just getting Stillwell back and just all these cameos just make it feel
My theater went very much like,
everyone thought there was an elevator fight coming.
It was set up exactly the same way, right?
Hands on the gun, like ready, dude. Like, I think all the stuff with like the Avengers 1 flashback, I think they did that all so well, like well.
Steve fights Steve is good fun. Like it's short but sweet. That's my favorite thing because talking about liking Steve's original character, how great Steve's like character in the first Avenger is. But I will turn up all day for Steve being fed up with old Steve. Like Steve now, having like been through everything that Steve's been through, just kind of being done with like the boyish, enthusiastic, like goody two shoes.
I can do this all day.
And then like he like sneak attacks himself with the Bucky's alive.
I don't give a shit, man.
It's such it's short, it's sweet, and it's a perfect kind of this is Steve's character now versus then moment.
It should have been like an Indiana Jones when they're about to do the sword fight. He should have pulled out like a trank gun and just shot him, and then it'd be like, alright, please.
Also, I love the moment where old Captain America thinks new Captain America is Loki. Loki has such a habit of turning into Captain America. It's like, I found him.
Yeah, it was a great reason for him to like immediately engage without kind of like a whole like, whoa, who are you sort of thing. It was like it just I see myself, I fight myself. And then Tony and Scott fail downstairs to nab the the space stone rather,
Yeah.
because Hulk had to take the stairs and wasn't happy about that.
Very unfortunate that, very unfortunate. It's bad luck.
It's just one of those things though. It's like extra content for Avengers 1. It's like this is how Hulk would have had to get down from Stark Tower. Like that on just like literally jumped.
Sort of jumped off. Yeah.
He would have jumped too low.
Imagine like what he would have done to the streets. I'm not. They would have cared.
He did that a bit, right? During I feel like it wouldn't be near.
But like, stairs. Or not,
it was a nice.
Tony telling Scott to give himself a heart attack and all that. You know.
Oh, what's his name? The overlord of Shield. Yeah,
Alexander Pierce.
Yeah.
Yes, Pierce.
Just
around again.
It's just so clever.
Robert Redford has retired from acting like 10 years ago. He still appears every 2 years in the movie.
Oh, and I guess this is the second part of the fan theory my fan theory I've been telling everyone. It's that Loki, because like that space stone disappeared, so Cap would never return that specific space stone and kind of undo what was done in that moment. It's like in my mind, I want to think, right, that Loki escaped with the space stone, and then subsequently was like, if I don't travel to this specific moment in space time and free Scott from a van, then they never come back in time and release me. So I have to ensure my own.
But it wouldn't be the same future.
He can't travel through time though, only space with that stone.
Well, they set up the rules of time travel that doesn't work, I think.
But also,
they said if you go back, you create a different path.
I don't know. I just.
That's an interesting theory.
There's a Loki out there somewhere. Is all I'm saying. Like they've set a Loki free. So then we get another great moment. We get the all or nothing, the last ditch. Let's go back to the 1970s from Tony and Cap.
So good.
That just the moment in the street where Scott's trying to tell him not to do it. Yeah. Do you trust me? I do. Oh man, they're friends.
Good resolution. Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
So
I will say that whole not scene, but that whole sequence in the 70s, I wasn't that much a fan.
What?
I like the Captain America part, I guess, where he sees Peggy again. That's really emotional. But the stuff with Tony's dad was a bit over the top
as well.
It was so hammered in.
So emotional.
It was maybe a couple of steps too on.
I think maybe the hug wasn't necessary, but apart from that,
I think overall there was
I agree with you.
Yeah.
I think Cap seeing Peggy was more what it needed to be. Kind of a subtler.
Yeah, or if he had seen him walking away. Well, no, I liked it.
I liked that they chatted, but I don't know if they necessarily needed to have the whole child rearing.
The child thing was a little.
And I'm sure Howard Stark, when he gets a kid, he changes a lot because it changes perspective on things. But he's such a different character than he used to be.
I like it because in the past movies we've seen Tony having big issues with his dad because there were. He was a teenager when Dad died, and they weren't on good terms. He was not a great kid.
I like that kind of stuff.
And then he couldn't change. He couldn't fix that because his dad died. So there's always this issue. He felt like a bad son. In a way, he thought the dad was a bad dad. In a way,
but he was.
Past, at least.
A conversation with his father is good closure for Tony's character.
It
was a bit.
He saw so much of himself.
At the start of Civil War, it is Civil War, right? He's created a hologram so he can have therapy where he talks to his father.
Yeah. Tony needed
it's a massive part.
I understand. Yeah, maybe they didn't need to quite talk about raising children. Although it worked because he's got a kid now. But
right. They could introduce it naturally.
So they get the space stone. They get the pin particles.
The moment that all redeemed that whole sequence for me was Jarvis opening the car door, because that guy is from Agent Carter and it's from a TV series. And it literally was a TV show.
So let's do Rocket and Thor now. Of the time travels, Rocket and Thor going for the reality stone.
Yeah.
It's nice to see Asgard again, I guess.
You didn't like this one?
It's one of those. It's probably my least favorite of the three of all the time travel stories.
I like Thor's interaction with Mum a lot.
Yeah, but not. Yeah, exactly. But it's not bad. I wouldn't say bad. It might be the weakest one of them, but it's not bad.
I feel like this is the only real way Thor could get out of his
Thor's interaction with his mother was the part of it that was
when he gets his hammer and he still says, "I'm still wearing it."
Yeah. It's a lot of it through this movie for the original 6 is in a way fixing past mistakes.
Yeah.
And yeah,
and or like getting like reunited with people.
I'll say a big part of why I
They
agree
lost.
that it feels slightly weak is that it's a kind of weird situation. Like the others, like we're going right after the Avengers 1 where it'll happen,
Yeah.
all the action, and then this one where like she's asleep in a room and you gotta go.
Yeah, it's hard to explain
out of
why
it,
the
right?
ether had to be got from here, rather than I don't fucking where like the cube it was in at the start of Thor 2 or something. But I like they don't fuck around with like her like not. She's just like, bitch, I was raised by witches. I know what's going on here.
That's
You're
cool.
my future son. You want a
Frigga.
reality star? Frigga.
Frigga.
Thank you.
There we
Yes.
go.
Yeah.
Took me a moment.
Yeah, she was great in the Dark World. She was great now. I love.
Yeah.
character.
But yeah, I agree that like how they actually I liked Thor's interaction in it, but how they got the stone seemed weaker definitely than the other two.
Yeah.
Did
It's
Natalie
kind
Portman
of-
have to come in for this movie and like shoot those scenes, or was it just
Yeah. No, there was like a brief shot of her. A very
Yeah.
brief
Wow,
shot.
Yeah.
they actually got her for that. That seems pointless.
Catch that rabbit. Nice, rabbit reference. That's always nice. Just that's the real power of this movie, right? It's references. You never go more than about 2 minutes in this movie without a reference to something from one of the other 20 movies. And it's just
It's so great.
So anyway, so he gets his hammer. They get the stone. They get out of there.
An easy time, man.
Let's do Nebula and Rhodes now, and then we can talk a bit about Thanos, and then we'll talk about Clint and Natasha. To wrap
this
up
is the
the time
weakest one for
traveling.
me.
Okay.
Like
I
I like that quick moment where they see Quill dancing.
It's true. Again, one of the references again, right?
He's
Yeah.
an idiot.
Yeah.
But I'm not that huge on Rhodey. And Nebula.
I can't help but think like the
Weird
story
synergy.
a little bit
You
better
would
protected.
need-
Like
Yeah.
it's kind of at the beginning of Guardians of the Galaxy, I was like, oh, it's just a cool object, and like I didn't realize people knew the significance. But like now, I'm just kind of like,
One
man,
of the
like, she's,
63
like,
stones.
if you just have like sort of metal claw, you can reach in and get it. Like, seems...
It's kind of hidden, I guess. But it's
I mean, we
there's a
don't
temple built around it.
there and stuff. Like
No,
Like
also,
somebody's-
with a metal claw. I want an alternate timeline now where it's Andy Serkis stealing the.
And like it literally like you could just get like a fucking pair of pliers and put it in and take it out like that. That's the security. Like
Yeah,
Nebula's
Rhodey
made of
even
some-
like he lampshades it with being like, "There's a huge temple. There's gonna be traps. It's gonna be dangerous," and then they just walk in.
But like what I don't get is like who protecting the stone? Like whose property is it at this point?
It's just I think it's lost and like it's like a
Yeah.
it's like
But
I
like
think,
someone
it's
built
like
a temple, right?
I
Like,
think that
Yeah, we don't know.
Hotline
Yeah.
is like the legend of like no one knows where it is and
I guess so.
yeah.
Yeah, no, okay, maybe that's good. That's maybe the weak one. Although, yeah, like it's funny that the bit where they with Quill dancing is like such a great Quill character.
Yeah,
moment.
yeah,
It's like it's not even really his. It's
But I
just-
think this might be weaker than the Thor one in my opinion.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. No, I guess thinking about that. That's
Well, it does bring us to Thanos.
it
back.
ties us into. Everyone's been sitting there wondering how Thanos is going to tie into this movie. I mean, obviously thought about it for a bit. Past Thanos is your really only option here, but
So
I
for you
sense.
nerds, did you immediately buy into like the two nebulas connecting on there?
Nah,
It
it didn't
makes
make any
sense.
sense to me.
Network.
I
It
thought
make-
it made no sense.
It makes
I thought
sense to me.
it's like two computers with the same IP address. It's just like they got into
It's more like two phones of the same model somehow connected
Yeah.
to themselves.
No, it's
The
like
same-
they're
well-
like literally with like the exact same connection protocols and like a Wi-Fi receiver will be able to tell them apart and stuff. It was
That's
also a
awesome.
great way to rapidly get Thanos up to like Thanos is obviously like a super genius level. Like he's supposed to be a smart boy who figures shit out quickly. But
He also
it
has
was,
his wizard
yeah,
friend. He's also
that's right.
Yeah.
But it helped him very quickly because he could just scan our memories, very quickly piece together exactly what had happened. The bit of Thanos watches his own head get cut off is a good character moment for him,
Yeah.
despite the fact this is
I
not
guess.
Thanos.
what I mentioned earlier.
So to go back to feeling a little
Yeah.
convenient, I guess like I don't really mind they can connect. I mind a little bit that suddenly she just showed a vision of what they were doing.
Yeah, how fast it went,
That's
yeah.
that's more than just sort of this two.
Is
The exact moment she tries to
That's right.
like push the
Yeah.
Like
button.
why didn't our Nebula get a vision of what's happening with the other one? For instance?
Isn't Nebula just recording at all times? Understand the privacy
Yeah.
agreement.
But
like,
if it's recording, why is it showing up on the other one? Like, there's no reason
Yeah.
it would be doing that. Like, it should
Yeah.
maybe go to a memory, but why is it being shown? Like,
so Thanos figures out what's going on and sends his Gamora. I actually really like this plan. I think
Nebula.
Nebula.
they're same person. green,
Say,
blue,
his daughter,
So yes, he's sending
Damn
back
it.
fake Nebula with like the bit on her head. The plan to sending back fake Nebula. Actually, I think overall it's a really engaging as time travel as a plot device goes, and so often time travel is the death of good fiction. As soon as like they start to use, but like in this particular case, I think it was because they stuck rigidly to nothing you do while time traveling can affect anything about where you're going back to. You can just
That
go
saves
back.
it.
Yeah.
saves
That's the
him.
best
You
way.
can only
But like
change the
that,
future.
like the
yeah.
whole like where did the villain come from and like coming to the future. It actually the whole thing as a story sat really well with me as a time
It's
travel.
very hard to do time travel, right? Like,
Yeah,
could they not have
But then-
like? Yeah, no.
past Gamora maybe. And I do mean Gamora this time. Past Gamora becoming good Gamora was maybe a bit of a quick sort of. I think she's really loved. She was just always really loved her sister and was just looking for the affection, but like.
Wait, past Gamora?
Like, yeah, as in
Yeah.
like trusting Nebula and decide is in part.
yeah.
Non-dead
I mean, I
Gamora.
could buy
Gamora
that
didn't-
because at the start of the
Yeah.
first Guardians, that's basically who she is already. She hates Thanos.
Yeah,
hates
right?
everything
Like, that's
about
sort of
that.
fine.
Okay.
Like,
Yeah.
she always
Yeah.
wanted to. She always
Maybe
wanted to
I'm
stop
just
Thanos, right? She
misremembering
always
how it
did.
started. Yeah.
Like she was trying to get it to like stop Thanos getting it, right? Like
Yeah.
she was planning to like send it away.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Okay. You know, I live with it all. I live with it all.
You just need that little push from like
Yeah.
you know what happens on Vormir.
And we
Like, at
move
the
on
end.
to Clinton Matt. Oh
Out
no.
of Soul Stone.
Dude, which one did you think was gonna die?
I had no idea.
I
had
liked
no
liked
idea.
how they set that
Both-
up. Like they
I
both
had
made
no.
sense.
I
Both made
kept on
sense.
going back and forth so many times during the
Yes.
scene. I was like, oh, you're
Same.
dying. Oh, you're dying. You're
I
dying.
That was a
love
purpose.
the scene. I loved like the grim comedy of the
Yeah.
the suicide fight, like the who can kill themselves first
It's
thing.
so
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
That's just
But like,
Like,
it's so hard to have two characters that are like kind of well liked and well done by like the actors and the directors, and you actually don't know which one's gonna die, right? Like that's
so good.
so good.
Yeah, it was kind of like if I had to liken it to something else, spoiler alert for a few seasons ago, but watching Brienne and the Hound fight in Game of Thrones. Not that like they didn't obviously have any kind of like history of characters, but it was that kind of thing when I felt like I was like, someone's
Yeah.
gonna die here. I was not died there in Game of Thrones, slightly more
Yeah.
recent spoiler. But like I was, it was that kind of just intensity of emotion when I was watching it. I think overall, on balance, Nat was the right choice for it, just because of the whole family thing.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
had nothing left basically, and they set it up earlier in the
Yeah.
movie with like, this is all I have, so I'm gonna do everything in my power to get it back.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like, for instance, like Clint, if he dies, like I don't see how she moves on from that, right?
no, like she's even more fucked up at that
can't.
point. Especially when the family comes back.
It's again, here's something to move on to. She would have nothing.
Yeah.
It's super
Yeah.
It was like a fun, good maneuver how she like kind of
With like she
outsmarted
jumped
him.
off.
So basically, she puts him in a situation where he can't save both of them. He can't save
Yeah, exactly.
himself and drop himself off in the same time.
But on both watches, I never like when you see her laying down on the ground. Is that her hair or is that blood?
I think it's blood. I think
it's supposed to be a little bit ambiguous.
It's meant to be both. Yeah, I think it's meant to be
both.
It's like a kind of, it's like like her brain isn't so smashed everywhere. It's like
Yeah,
never seen
you
her
saw
with
blood.
like
You
this.
saw blood from Gamora as well.
I gotta say, every time these two come up, I gotta say, I love that. I mean, this should be something that's just far more common in films. Unfortunately, it's not.
There's a
I love
platonic
their
relationship.
purely platonic relationship.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
there's a
That's
man
how
and a
it's
woman, and they're just the
so.
coolest, bestiest, best of friends who fucking have all the great moments, like easily as
Yeah.
good as seeing Banner and Thor in Ragnarok or something.
Yeah.
And there's just, and then one of them was dead at the end. There was just never
Yep.
anything romantic, and it's like, oh,
It's why like a duo film between them would be really good.
I
So
know.
what sets them
Yeah.
apart from the other Avengers? They've had so much history together, and you can tell
Yeah.
for every conversation they have. They're like,
I love that like we're so far away from Budapest now. Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
They talk about like Red Skull might be lying, and like like they're so like neither of them are trusting. They both come to like this mystical place at the center
Yeah.
of the universe, the realm of death.
Intelligence
Both do
officers.
And they're like,
humans.
but what if he's just like tilting shit? Maybe we just put him off. Like,
You just hide in your pockets, right, mate? Like
There's two copies of him sitting there very lonely now because they get the stones and they head
Yeah.
back. And it's kind of like an interesting thing about obviously how it would work is despite the different times and everyone's in, like they all get back at the same time, right? So Rhodey
and they set
leaves
up a
without
minute.
Gamora, and you're thinking like, oh, he's going to get
Nebula.
back and get
Yeah.
Nebula, and you think, oh, he's going to get back and Nebula's going to be missing, but no, because obviously it's timed out. We just target whatever time you want to go.
What's interesting?
well,
is
it was
like,
set time they go back on.
but
Yeah,
they
the
have
exactly.
to go
things.
back after they first left, right?
Yeah.
Because otherwise they're affecting their past, which is impossible.
Wait, what do you
Like
mean?
you
No,
couldn't go
they'd
back.
They'd go back and see themselves. It would just be a different timeline.
But then why would they go back to like a day after the snap happened with all the stones and just unsnap it?
Look, okay,
That would
but
be-
here they are in the present.
Yeah.
And so they reunite, and there's that kind of sad moment when everyone realizes Nat isn't there.
Mm.
Which kind of actually, like I realized go the second time, it was much longer scene in my head, but they kind of get around to just like, okay, well, I guess we're snapping our fingers now pretty quickly.
Yeah.
I'd have to see the lake, so yeah.
There's like one scene.
Yeah, there's like,
they understood the risk.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you know,
Everyone understood the risk.
Dude, pretty successful, you know. Like one person died. It's not bad.
Nat didn't give her life to not fucking like snap some fingers. So, what does everyone think to Hulk being the one?
Makes the most sense.
Good choice.
Makes the most sense.
Especially because
it's really cool. Maybe Captain Marvel, and if she can do that OP energy absorption, but you know, if she's not around, then yeah, Hulk.
But yeah, if it was normal Hulk, no fucking way. But this Hulk really makes more sense. Also because of the role he has played.
Dude, if you gave normal Hulk, I don't know what the fuck he would do. The universe, die.
Yeah, like the whole gamma and everything. You know, it's
And I like the moment where Thor wants to do it because he wants to fix his own mistakes.
Yeah, he wants to be the one to fix it.
Again, I'll bring up, we talked about the spoilers a bit beforehand. Tony just makes the gauntlet when they needed like space dwarfs to make a gauntlet before, and that still kind of gets me.
Nano machines, you know, but yeah, no, it's like.
But like they literally, like Thanos is like a genius, right? And he has like the wizard guy who's like, you know, fucking stupid.
Yeah, but Tony's smarter than all of them.
Is Tony smarter than that?
No, well, it's different. They don't have nano machines, I guess.
As an inventor,
they never thought of that.
They have no equivalent technology to create a gauntlet that's strong. It just
like, I don't know. That's
I think there should have been
a
bigger drawback. I think it should have been like in the movie. It should have been like mentioned like this is a fix, like a fix, but it's not as good as a gauntlet, or something.
Like like it should have been like using this will almost certainly kill you, and like Hulk barely survives, and then you know.
Yeah, they should have like put more emphasis on it. I agree.
Yeah, it just feels like, but yeah.
So you get that, and then you get a brief happy moment. You know, you sort of vaguely where everyone's come back to life around the world, and
which is
it's Ant-Man, right? Sees a couple of birds flying.
Yeah, and then he just like, I think it worked, guys. Why?
Yeah.
The birds, boy. I spotted two birds that was one a second ago.
Clint gets a call.
Yeah, okay. That part makes sense, but
and no one gets time for exposition because Hulk is like lying there staring up, and like fucking meanwhile Thanos, like somehow Pym Particle, this another slight plot flaw has come through time
with his entire army.
He did figure out a time travel as well, right? Like
they fucking reverse engineered the Pym Particle. They're smart as fuck.
But they can do that, but they can't like do nano machines.
So anyway, so Thanos turns up, and like the fucking compound gets. This is another gripe I have. People survive because
when I saw that quite recently, Ant-Man is standing in the window to get hit straight on by a missile,
blown back,
and Ant-Man just survives.
Because the entire building gets fucking flattened.
Yeah,
everybody's in there. A lot of people are human and are gonna die from.
Dude, fuck! If we're talking about humans who don't die, Captain America like gets punched in the face by savages.
Fucking Clint. Clint survives that building. So yeah, like you definitely got to be like, when that happens.
Everybody, I assume, absorbs the power of nearby superheroes, and then it's very tough at this point.
I honestly thought like everyone had just died. I was like, shit.
Yeah, I think it was a great moment.
Out of this one.
But what you think about it is kind of.
And then so the destruction happens, and you sort of sets up this situation where people are trapped under various things. Clint has the glove, and convenently,
it's Hulk like holding up the entire building while this.
Yeah, he's holding up like a massive amount of rubble.
That's a recall to Secret Wars, I think, in the comics, where he's like holding up this massive thing to save all the heroes. That's a definite recall. Call back to comics. Nice. Yeah.
And everyone's like they're like drowning and stuff, and Rocket's trapped.
I love the Rocket like human type moment where he's like just afraid for his life because he's stuck down. It's like
no sarcasm.
Yeah, exactly. Where it's like the heart falls and he's
subject of Rocket. Does anyone else not hear Bradley Cooper at all when they hear Rocket talk?
Yeah, I don't get it, man.
It's so good. I love Bradley Cooper and I love Rocket, but it doesn't sound like Bradley Cooper to me.
But also, I never see him in cast pictures or anything, so maybe he's just not
someone else.
Yeah.
So Thanos arrives. And sits down because he knows what's going down. He knows which act of the film he's in, and there's not
double sword or whatever.
Yeah,
taking off the helicopter.
Not going to be a final battle. So Tony, Cap, and Thor versus Thanos.
Oh, the moment when they walk out, best moment of the movie.
So good.
When they have that brother moment, like all three of them just like standing there, like, this is a trap, but whatever, we're gonna fucking do this.
Yeah.
Thor summons both his weapons, like his beard gets plaits and stuff.
It goes full north.
So good.
Really good.
Really good. And the fighting, the choreography, I feel is.
Oh.
Yeah, like the start of the fight, before they switch over to Hawkeye Down Under. It's only like 5 seconds, but there's so much happens in that first scene.
Yeah.
Where
Yeah.
everybody has to it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I love that also that it's a fight where, I mean, we talked about callbacks in this movie, but it is just boom, boom. Like so many things are a reference to. When Iron Man opens up his back and like Thor channels the lightning in to like make him more powerful. God, like within split seconds of each other, you have Captain America picks up Mjolnir, which is like teased bare minimum Age of Ultron, if not before.
But a lot of
like
audience theories.
And like Thor being like, I knew it. Like
seconds later, he throws the shield and throws the hammer. And
and the shockwave.
Like referencing that thing from the Avengers 1. It's just like
the moment they have that shot of the hammer falling down and just laying on the ground, everybody knew he was gonna pick it.
When Thor's out of it, and you're like, "Oh, Captain
America." I was gutted, man.
Sorry.
I did not have the Spider-Man Homecoming moment where I saw it coming a second before when they saw the whole hammer rising. I was just like, "Oh, Thor's moving his hammer," and then when it flies back to Cap, I was just like,
I was so in the moment of like the whole scene and everything. I did not think ahead in any way.
This was
and
the Force Awakens.
I was like, wait, what?
This was the Force Awakens when Rey does a lightsaber.
Spoilers.
At 10,000 times better executed.
Yeah.
Spoilers.
It's much more movies.
And then there's like some great, just like double teaming going on. You see the shield get ripped up, which Shield get ripped up, which is kind of obviously a reference to Tony's vision from Age of Ultron when he sees like Captain America's shattered shield.
What the hell is Thanos' weapon made of?
I thought that literally what I was going to say. I thought that was going to be the moment that Thanos was going to be like, "Aha, my adamantium blade," and that's how they introduce the X-Men, right? Like that's how they get adamantium into, because they've already got one super metal, but you need to establish a hierarchy of super metals. Thanos was like, "My adamantium beats your vibranium, you piece of shit!" Like,
Thomas, adamantium higher than vibranium?
He's just hitting it. He's just hitting it real hard, just real hard. It's like normal metal, steel, just real hard steel.
Well, vibranium is like it absorbs all vibration.
Yeah,
it's not completely impervious to.
I mean, let's not talk about how vibranium works.
I think adamantium like distorts, like not well.
But that's also how vibrations. How does it create a shockwave?
And how does it bounce around?
Yeah, right. Like let's not talk about the science of vibranium.
It should just like hit a wall and just like fall straight to the ground.
It would literally be if you throw it at somebody, it just like hits them. There's no impact. That
can't absorb any of that elastic energy. Just like
It's science.
But the point is, it's a cool fight.
It's a really cool,
very cool fight.
One thing, the power balance. And Infinity War, Thanos has like 4 stones. He beats up all the heroes. This movie has 0 stones, beats up all the heroes easily.
He doesn't beat easy. Yeah,
he
has less trouble at the start of this fight.
I feel like
more ruthless, and Thor is weaker.
Well, when Cat picks up Mjolnir, it's like there's moments when Cat picks up Mjolnir. There's like a solid like 10 to 15 seconds where Thanos is just but he's not. He's like what's it, Friday analyzes fighting style. Comes back after that.
He's just not taking damage. That's the thing. He's tough as fuck. He has his armor on, and I think like the fact that the Russos said and he just has incredibly like strong skin and shit.
Well, yeah.
So he's just not really taking much.
But like
damage.
I think I don't. It's not even they take down. I feel like Iron Man and Thor go down quite easily and for a long time. Like, it's a long period where Captain America just standing there fighting him, and even after
it had to be done because
it has to be
the choreography of the fight. But
because
when I'm watching all the portals and shit appear, I was like, wait, where Iron? I had forgotten the second time I watched it. I was like, where Iron Man and Thor doing this? And then like at the end when he like Avengers, they all like stand up, and it's like, well, you're fucking lying there, man. Captain America's been standing up for like 5 minutes, just getting his shit beaten out of him.
Just briefly before the portals, which is definitely next or strongly next on the list. Let's do Hawkeye. Let's do Clint and his run through the ruins, somehow surviving tunnels, which is just it's just the door scene from Game of Thrones. Right? He's running through a tunnel, being chased by a bunch of zombies, and then you get the kind of this is actually I want to hear everyone's take on this because it's kind of a weird moment to me. The Gamora and Nebula shoots Nebula thing.
I mean, it's just basically to show how far she's gone, right, Nebula?
Well, the one thing I really liked about it was in a weird counter to that, I'll just say he's not here. In a weird counter to that, like a kind of like how far she almost hasn't come in like some specific ways. Like the ruthlessness of Nebula is still just you and me.
Yeah, well, we cut this bit.
It's still there, right? Like the Nebula, like how ruthlessly Nebula shoots Nebula when like when she she's like she's become a good person, but it's still that fucking space.
It's like a mental,
yeah, and she knows what Bastard is capable of, right?
Yeah,
so
exactly. That's true. It's a real moment of sort of self-understanding.
But that entire run with Hawkeye and stuff, I don't know.
This is the part of me where like you could cut some part from the final battle and put maybe a bit more in earlier. That's that kind of part. Like I remember when I was like watching it, and it's like there's an hour left. Thanos shows up. Man, this is a long fucking fight.
Yeah, that'd be my first candidate. I agree.
Yeah, definitely. Seems like
so. Yeah, like just I guess before like Gamora frees past or future Nebula, like past Gamora frees future Nebula, and they have that kind of moment.
Yeah.
Again, that whole thing just feels like happened a bit fast to me, but
could have been.
So much shit happens in the film where it's really.
But so much shit happens, including the portals.
No. But first. Well, I mean, it's kind of the same sequence, but it started that sequence
until
everybody's down. Hope lost. Thanos brings in all the armies. Fucking Captain America stands up. He can do this all day.
That's shot.
However you end up editing this, Jacko, you got to put like people who are looking right now need to be able to see that shot.
Like,
when he's walking alone against.
No, you can get good quality. It was on YouTube videos.
Of like him standing facing Thanos' army right before on your left.
With his broken shield.
Yeah.
That's
and he would literally just die doing that if like if they hadn't showed up, he would just go to death. And
he would just run in.
Now it's always sat slightly weirdly with me that like you hear Sam and it's like on your left, and then
the portal.
T'Challa walks out of the portal.
But he comes out of the same portal. Yeah, he flies out later. But yeah, it's like he doesn't fly.
It's like one of Captain's other black friends. He's got so many Captain's
it's not the 40s anymore.
I was just like, whatever. But okay, we could talk about everyone appearing because like they literally bring out every fucking character.
Everyone, yeah.
But who is everyone's like favorite moment when they appear? Like the moment that person comes out of their portal and poses. What's your like most hype? Almost hype. That's not necessarily what I'm looking for, but like you pick one. Everyone pick one up.
Pepper's is really good.
Yeah. I think
wearing the thing you made.
Yeah, wearing the thing. Yeah.
Wait, what point? Sorry, what?
When they're actually stepping out of the portals, who's like your favorite? Like, Spider-Man's really.
Spider-Man's mine.
Maybe I forgot about Spider-Man.
Spider-Man's so good.
Let me think. There'll be some more people I'm forgetting.
I kind of like
Quill's good. Quill like going in with his mask and then he takes the mask off. That's good. I
kind of like. I didn't see it in the first watch, but you can see the old Guardians of the Galaxy team with Sylvester Stallone and stuff. You can see them in the background. I love that.
Oh, that's sick. I literally never spotted that. Like,
also
always great walking around, shouting.
Howard the Duck is in the fight.
Oh my god. I can't fucking handle this. They kind of Howard the Duck. Oh yeah, all the sorcerers walking out doing their shit.
Yeah, like it's like every portal's like that's a good portal. Oh, that's also a good portal.
Thank you, Silvestri, for your that score.
Has anyone done the meme where it's like this bad boy could fit so many Wakandans in
it? And then begins. Wait, no, hang on. One very important line.
Yeah.
One very important line.
Yeah.
I'll recreate it. I'll recreate it. Avengers, assemble.
It's not that much quiet. It's like Avengers, assemble.
No, it's quiet. No. This one, Tom, I listened to very. It's a whisper.
Anyway,
actually.
But I'm assuming everybody's wearing an earpiece, right? So it's fine.
Yeah, earpieces.
We obviously don't have time to cover every frame of the final battle. Even if we weren't behind time, we wouldn't have time to cover every frame. But what are some highlights? Let's go highlights of the final battle.
Ant-Man being Giant Man. The start
and just punching a space
the punch is good. The punch is good.
The monster steps out, the big hooky guy. Whatever.
Yeah.
The Nautilus. I don't know.
I really liked the
Call Obsidian
scene.
Yeah. Oh, dude, when he throws a hammer, and that bit when he the webs onto it, I really like that part.
Yeah.
Flies
also the kill mode activated. Yeah.
Instant kill mode. The bit where the brief moment where like Captain ends up with Stormbreaker and Thor ends up.
You take the small one.
You take the small one.
Speaking of Captain Marvel, one good scene, the only good scene I consider in this movie, is when she meets Peter Parker and is like, "Hey there, Peter Parker, you got something for me?" I like that. I like that.
You like that?
I like that.
Her entrance was hype because you gotta take it a little bit back to Scarlet Witch for that moment.
Oh, okay.
But so you have Scarlet Witch versus Thanos.
So good.
Dude, Scarlet Witch is like actually beating Thanos. Though. That's crazy.
Yeah,
like
really
she's beating him, but like he is gone.
Yeah, canonically, Scarlet Witch is like one of the most powerful.
But I just think that's like
it's power sets.
I mean, even Infinity War, right?
She immobilizes him. He can't do shit. His armor doesn't matter. His skin doesn't matter.
At the end of Infinity War, when he's at the strongest he can be, Scarlet Witch just fucking stops him. You know? Before he destroys him.
Like it's so cool.
He's So he, I love their interactions. Well, I don't even know who you are. And she's like, you will. So I love exactly what you just said. She's fucking him up, and then he's just like screaming in the air. He's like, bomb everything. He's like, man. He's like, do you fucking hear me? She's about to rip my arms off. Just like, drop the fucking bombs. And it works. Like, it gets him out of that. And then it's like,
I love this sword. So just like this shields up.
And Spider-Man just laying in the crater, like, oh god, what the fuck?
The moment where like the shooting stops and it like flicks to the ship and like the cannons all start pointing up and it's like something's entered the Earth. So I'm hyped there, man. Like that's certainly like Captain Marvel, but like that entry where just like everyone's getting messed up and the cannons just like suddenly stop and start and all of them are just blasting away at her and then she just fucks up.
She gets the power from them, I guess, you know.
So we should talk briefly about. I think at least a lot of people didn't like was the female empowerment scene.
I don't mind it, man. Having problems with that is just.
I don't want to mind it because I feel like I'm very misogynistic. Because this whole movie is filled with fan service and like great moments and whatever. And then when it comes to this scene with the women, I'm sure it's a great scene for women, but I had to roll my eyes.
I almost think they could do it like, okay, I don't mind it too. I think it's kind of cool actually with women, but I think the way they just had them like standing there, then another one stands in, then another one stands in, and that happens for like 5 seconds.
That's what I said. I said it was if it had been a scene where Peter is consecutively helped by a bunch of different people, and I'm like kind of at the end of the scene thinking back, you're like, oh wow, that was just all women.
It just happens to be women.
Even
it's the posing. It's the fucking posing.
Even if they all charge at the same time, it's just those women. That's fine. But the pose just seems a bit over the top.
Exactly.
But I understand why they do it. But they do want to make a point, and then you need a point for that. And it's a true point you should make.
For the girls.
Yeah, and they deserve it because fuck, we have fan service like every guy.
Honestly, frankly, it's ham-fisted. It's good. It's good to see it in a film. It's better than not seeing it in a film.
But that doesn't mean I
don't
roll my eyes a little bit.
And it's like
when I saw this in the movie, I was like, oh my god, so many morons are gonna have so many problems. But like. And it's impossible to see and not like notice. Like you do notice.
All of us. This applies to like it just wasn't. The scene wasn't put in the movie for us. The writers didn't write that in the script, being like you know. And so if my sister
20-year-old white guys,
and like anybody else was like you know if there's like even you know like one person in the world who saw that and thought it was like the coolest thing I've ever seen in a Marvel movie, then fuck it, fine. I'm happy that they got the enjoyment out of it. So the battle works its way.
I'm not sure about the plan in the battle because they're taking the gauntlet away from.
I always wonder, like they're taking it to the
what's
fucking
the point with the van?
Yeah, why do they want
to? They want to take it back in time. They want to go and take the stones back, like do what Steve does at the end.
But they have more pin particles now. Why did they not just have someone ready as soon as they did the snap just to go put them back?
Because like they got bombed as soon as like pretty much immediately after.
Okay, but like they weren't prepared to do that, right? Because otherwise they wouldn't have bothered.
Really? Let's talk about that van surviving. No, yeah, I agree.
Like also. Yeah, like they have spare pin particles now, and they're probably still waiting at GPS.
It's kind of like the way it's explained is like a rush. They want to get the gauntlet out of the presence of Thanos, so he can't do anything with it, and they want to get it back in time.
But I guess also they needed like the big machine right to go back in time, and that's like gone now.
Yeah,
well, no, they need that big machine. But when they in the past, they go to the future without the machine.
Yeah, but that's because they said it with the machine in the current time to go back to that time with.
So like bring them back or something.
Yeah, it's just
they're contacting the machine in the future.
No.
Yeah.
Can they not contact the machine in the past? It's still working.
Listen, man.
No. Ian, the way it's set up is in the gauntlet you have it programmed. You're living to this point. and you're returning it to this time
Sure.
when you just click the button, right?
But you need
That's
the
how
machine
it's
to do it,
programmed.
right?
Yeah, you need to
Otherwise-
start in the machine.
But you also need to end in the machine, or no? But they end in the machine as well.
No,
Or that's
I don't think so. I don't think that's just the place they
And
decided to,
the
you
movie,
know.
kind of.
Hey, you know,
But like,
Oh,
okay.
but I did.
I
Think,
guess
speaking of the
that's
van,
probably an easy place to
Yeah.
set yourself in. You know,
I guess.
Speaking of the
Anyway,
van,
it's easy to program.
my new
Again,
favorite
science,
moment
not
of
gonna
the portals opening, Valkyrie on the Pegasus. I love that.
Oh,
I love that.
that's
Yeah.
good.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Valkyrie is just badass in every shot. Like there's like something I'd want to fucking hang on the wall of Sistine Chapel or something in Thor Ragnarok. It's like a
Yeah,
shot
that scene of
the
them
Valkyrie
with
versus
Helga.
Hela, and it's like a
Mhm.
sort of it's like a
That's
Renaissance
so
fresco.
In slow motion,
Yeah,
there's
a-
beautiful.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Good here
That's
too.
fantastic.
So, Doctor Strange is using a tornado to hold back the Hudson River.
Yeah,
right?
he's-
You know where the
yeah.
Avengers
he's
compound
too
is?
powerful.
Not the Hudson River.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I like that they kind of in a world where everyone is like so insanely powerful, they do kind of assign people like a job that like no matter how fucking strong Captain Marvel is, like she could wave her hands really fast to hold back the water, like she couldn't just stop it from flooding, right? Like, there's someone who can do that. And that's Doctor
Yeah.
Strange.
Utility,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Dude, he should
exactly.
have teleported the water on top of the army though with the portals.
Ooh.
I mean, when you want to explore what Doctor Strange should have done with his, like, the powers he has, let's
Yeah. Sure.
And then Tony lands next to him, and Tony's like, "What's going?"
Yeah. He's like, I can't tell you, dude. It's spoilers.
And he says, "Up his ass."
Yeah.
That's all that means today. No, it's
Yeah.
I love it. I love
But
it. I love
isn't
it.
But
him
you gotta
doing this the
think
same
that
as
Tony
telling him
knows,
that
right?
this is the future?
Yeah, you got to think Tony knows, right? At this point, Tony's
Yeah.
like, "This isn't ending well." I
That's,
don't like.
that's the point Tony realizes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because like the look in his eyes is, do I make the sacrifice play? And speaking of
Yeah.
that specific phrase in the sacrifice play, doesn't like another callback because what Cap says to him in Avengers 1, you're not the
Yeah.
guy to make the sacrifice
Yeah.
play.
Exactly.
And then
So
he
that's
does this
Avengers 1.
So in the end of A1, he flies the nuke through the portal, and then the end of
Yeah.
this,
Yeah.
love it. Oh,
Just
Yeah.
so there's that kind of like the it's a bit cheesy, I think, the moment where like Thanos goes for the snap, I'm inevitable. Like you can't see the back of his hand because like, oh,
Yeah.
of course the fucking stones are gone.
Imagine the plot twist though, of Endgame 2 coming out next year. The snap happens.
Yeah.
Yes,
Well,
go back
you get,
again.
You get the I am Iron Man line.
Yeah.
Which apparently was
I
reshoot.
just love.
That
was
wasn't
a
supposed to
Yeah.
be in the movie.
Really?
It
Oh,
was
that
supposed
is
to be like,
they
I am
changed
inevitable,
it.
and then just silence. But, I mean, I'm such a big fan of that line.
I am so happy. It's
Yeah,
so
I
sad.
love. Yeah, I love.
Call back to the end of the first movie. and
goes
Yeah,
back-
exactly. Yeah.
Just ties it all
Yeah,
together.
like I
The
love
first
how
movie
like,
in 2008, 11 years ago, a callback. That's fucking insane.
I like
man.
it. I like the way he says it. I like the way it's kind of like he's reassuring himself. He's building himself
Yeah,
up to do
yeah.
it. He's like, he's about to sacrifice himself to save everyone, and it's
And just probably thinking about what he's giving up, and
yeah. And then so
This is so
Tony's done.
at that point.
Everyone gets
Yeah.
dusted. That's nice. Rocket almost gets eaten right before the fight.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Sky Alligator. I gotta say, I mean, there's a lot of emotion going on while
Mhm.
Tony's dying with Peter and everyone. But to me, the kind of the quintessential center of it is the bit where Pepper says to him, like, "It's okay, we're gonna be fine." Like the whole, like, all Tony has cared
Immediately.
about.
Yeah.
It's like reassuring him, you did the right thing. Yes, we're not going to have you anymore, but you've made us safe, and from now and forever, myself, Pepper, and our daughter, we're going to be safe because you protected us. It's like it's all Tony needed. It's the it's the
Mhm.
Yeah.
he did it. He
Yep.
made them safe.
I mean, I love the whole sequence. The only thing, I'm not sure where they could have fit it in, but I want one more scene with Iron Man and Captain America. Just like one more, maybe a quick back and forth, maybe like, or even just like Steve looking at him a little bit.
Yeah.
Perhaps. Yeah.
I don't know. It's really tough. Like, it's a fine line, I think, between like kind of over fan service,
I live with the "Do you trust me?" line. I do, from before they went back to the 70s. It's that was their reconciliation for me. And it was short, but it was So then you get Tony's funeral.
then
That's the scene that was
That scene.
So Tony's funeral was originally in the script. It was a wedding, right?
Yeah, they apparently
Really?
filmed like many different wedding.
The wedding
type
of who?
things. Many different types.
Tony and Pepper, I think, was like one thing that was like basically
They
the
filmed
way it
many.
was, they made it look like they were filming a big wedding, and like And what they're bamboozling was to like, make everyone wonder who was getting married, right? So all the fans would be like, "Oh, who is it?" Because they film a bunch of like red herrings and stuff, but actually it was just a funeral.
Also, it ties back to the line from Iron Man in Infinity War to Wong, "You're invited to my wedding."
Yeah.
At the funeral.
So
you see the Iron Man 3 kid?
Yeah.
Not recognizing him the first time I saw that.
No, I realized after I went on Reddit.
He got Rickon Starked. You know, because it turned up like 3 years later and 2 feet taller.
Also, I reaction that Pym also went to like because they had big beef with these Starks and shit. Yeah. At the end there.
And then there's her kid.
Back.
His kid, sorry.
And
the cheeseburgers.
Cheeseburgers. Oh, that was.
I love Happy,
the
man.
cheeseburgers, man. The cheeseburgers.
Happy's one of my favorites.
Man. That's such a
you see
callback
Happy
to
like
Iron Man
breaking.
one.
Happy to breaking inside when she says it. Like
good moments.
So
Thor and Valkyrie. After the funeral, it cuts to. Yeah. So let's lump this in. Let's talk about Thor and Valkyrie and Thor and the Guardians together because it's all really to do with the continuation of Thor's story.
I like that he's not retired because that is one of the trio that are still in.
He's like an immortal god. Yeah, he better not retire yet.
Yeah.
He's I felt very much more backseat from him than like no longer a character.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what will happen next with him. I really don't know where it'll take the character.
After James Gunn. Guardians 3. Oh, he's got to be in Guardians 3, right? Like, there's no way they could.
How would he not be at this point?
I think he got to
be. They're
like, we chuck for that.
So Valkyrie's new queen of New Asgard.
Whatever. There's like 100 Asgardians.
That's fine.
Yeah, right. Yeah, like she used to be like in a really official, well, not official, but really high-ranking position, right? It's like a Valkyrie.
And Thor wasn't really king material.
She during the 5 years.
Yeah, I'm sure she was basically queen anyway. Yeah.
And
I feel sorry for like Meek and what is his name?
Korg.
Korg. Well, they lost their best friend. It's kind of sad, man. 5 years they lived together.
Did they stay on Earth?
You never see them. You never see them with the Guardians. You never see them with the Guardians. So I'm guessing
but you see them on Earth.
I mean, maybe, dude, it'd be crazy if they were in the Guardians. That's a lot of people. Yeah, but I guess that's like
Chris Hemsworth and Chris Pratt have such good synergy together.
Holy shit, they are just so fucking.
Like how they basically just redid the scene from Infinity War, but it still works.
Yeah.
Dude, that was so fun to watch.
To cast it back to Infinity War, the bit where Chris Pratt's talking with like a deep voice, like what normal voice?
It's like Guardians literally feels like a sitcom sometimes.
It's a really perfect sort of fragile masculinity moment in because every put your hands up. I know this applies. Like every young man and every old man who was once a young man, like has done that, has like made their voice a bit deeper at some point, or like has kind of like tried to stick their chest out a bit, or like kind of felt a little emasculated by like the presence of someone else. It was like the topic of conversation.
When I met
them, like exactly, and just gone a little bit like. So finally, the ending, Captain America, the sort of the thing I think everyone saw coming, because if you take the main trio, you've dealt with Tony and you've dealt with Thor, you got to wonder what's happening. There's no way Cap just finishes this movie like I'm gonna still Cap.
Yeah, because he looks so tired through the entire thing.
Yeah. I thought it was a beautiful ending, but
I agree.
I loved it. Like I like how we don't just have like everyone dying, but everyone has more unique and personalized endings for themselves that fit really well. Captain's is like this is the life he's wanted. He spent probably 5-10 years at this point in AA meetings talking about how much he'd lost and what he's like had to move past, and now he actually gets back and enjoy it for once.
To his own time.
It's perfect. It's like Captain ending. I think is almost better than Tony's to me. Like it's really.
Yeah, no, I would say it's better.
Yeah.
I would say they're about equal.
Great small moments.
It's beautiful. It's
Bucky totally knew that Captain America.
Bucky knew.
Picked that up the second time. Didn't the first time because I didn't know what was going to happen. But the second time watching, he liked the way what he said to Bucky before he goes. He says, "I'm going to miss you." Bucky says, "I'm going to miss you," which you just didn't say to someone. It's going to be.
It's 5 seconds, mate. Come on now.
Yeah.
But he
just 100% tell Bucky.
While the other two are freaking out about Cap not returning, he's just like,
yeah. And he's like, look over, points them out to Sam. That whole storyline conjures me a bunch of great images in my head of when Thor summons Mjolnir in Asgard. Like I just picture like Cap like standing outside, like holding it up, like waiting for him to summon it. You know, knows that any second he's going to summon it because that's where that Mjolnir came from, right? So it kind of has to be returned to that timeline. I don't think Mjolnir going missing is as bad as an Infinity Stone going missing, but like
it's a lot of power, you know. If
he goes back with Mjolnir and comes back without it, so like he returned it at some
That's
point.
cool. Yeah, I didn't even think about that at all.
I wonder how the Vormir situation went.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love
reuniting
people
of
talking about that
Captain
shit.
America.
Like, how the fuck did... Yeah.
With Red Skull.
Yeah.
Like, you know, injecting Natalie Portman, that kind of gone well, you know. Like,
Hey, you know.
It's so perfect for Steve's ending that he got his happy ending with Peggy.
Yeah, it's so good.
He did,
Which is kind of,
man, it's just
kind of mirrors Tony's a little bit in a way. So Tony got his happy ending and then saved the world.
Exactly.
Saved
Steve
the world
did it, yeah.
far too late to get his happy ending, but then by the miracle of time travel, basically by a miracle, was allowed to go back. Because that's really what it is, the miracle.
Yeah.
Allow him to go back and live with Peggy. Spawn some great memes about, you know, like the Captain America boarding Malaysia flight MH370
One
and stuff.
thing that I kind of get is, isn't it like it's a different universe or timeline when he goes back to, right? Because in this universe, so why is he old and in our one? Because surely that he shouldn't be in our universe anymore.
Because he returns to the same point.
Yeah, but it's like,
so he went back in time to our one again. He actually I wasn't sure if it was maybe he grew old in this universe, or he came back from a separate one.
Well, see, if it's like he didn't even need to go back to the past to get to our time, probably. If he went back to like right after the war to be with Peggy.
Yeah, but that's not in our time.
Because that's universe. Yeah.
So he has to go from that. He has to go from that universe back to ours.
The narrative doesn't fit perfectly, but I think the idea is by returning the stones, every story like arcs back into the main universe. Like, you know, kind of.
You don't have any bad separate things. There is one separate timeline, the one with Loki and the stone.
Yeah, right.
That's definitely separated. But not necessarily like.
But they're all slightly different. Like, also the opinion, if anything changed, it should all change.
Yeah,
right?
It's all about the programming of the thing, right? It returns to this particular point.
Well, I
don't think it matters in the grand scheme.
I guess the idea is that all along, throughout the entire MCU that has existed, there has been a gradually growing older Captain America in the universe of the film, sitting in the background. Universe. Yeah, not like just gradually growing old. That. And like, and then at any point, like if any of them had like thought to look for him, they would have like, you know, like basically before he went back in time, if they'd looked over, they would have seen him sitting on the bench because people had no one had looked over there.
Yeah.
Like, because he just like at some point just like, you know, it was like, okay, today's the day I go and sit on that bench.
It's weird to me, man. And like he knows everything's gonna happen. He knows.
He got his happy ending. It's fine.
But like, why would he wouldn't warn anyone, right? In case of like, he knows if he knows if he doesn't intervene, it ends happily. You wouldn't want to like.
It's gonna end happily for everyone.
Stick your dick in that and ruin it.
9/11.
Yeah, he knows enough not to fuck with the past because you know.
What if stopping 9/11 meant that the snap stayed permanent? You know, you ask yourself these questions.
Anyway,
he's
now Captain America.
Sam is now Captain.
Sam is now which we're getting like a Falcon and Bucky TV show, right?
Yes.
We are. Don't know.
Yep. There's a bunch of Disney Plus.
I'm looking forward to that. I like them in Civil War.
And you guys, there's already people saying Bucky should have been Captain America. What do you guys think about that?
Kind of.
No, I don't agree.
I don't think it works, man.
It's a deviation, but like from the comics.
I think
Captain, but
was he? I didn't know that. I don't think he works, right? Like
he's too tired and doesn't want anything to do with anything like combat related.
And like it sounds really hard in a way. You know your best friend for like 70 years or whatever. You know how long it's been, and then like it's hard.
He's also known in a bit of a bad light.
Exactly right. You need someone.
I think that could be interesting, but yeah.
Could be interesting, but does the world need interesting? No, it needs Captain America. That's
just like in the comics where the Punisher is like Captain America for a bit.
Really?
People don't fucking like that. Like nobody accepts that.
Yeah, but Captain America is Hydra for a bit, so like no one accepts that.
No, okay. But I mean in the universe. But don't like Punisher.
No, I think Falcon's cool.
Yeah, Falcons should get a little bit more time, but yeah, it can work.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's something you go into, right? Like, you're not instantly going to be a good Captain America, but you know, he's been a
he's gonna be great.
He's in the war. He'll be good. He'll be fine.
But there was no end credit scenes, right, in this movie?
No,
I didn't see.
You hear like Hammer metal, which is like callback to the first Iron Man in the cave.
Okay.
Also, such beautiful like credit scenes for the main six.
Yeah, that's all.
That was so good.
Okay.
Also a pretty good movie.
So that's that. Yeah, overall. All right, let's go around and do final thoughts one by one, and then everyone has to give it a rating. I don't actually care what you rate it out of. In fact, I prefer it. I think if everyone had like a complete different scale, so it's like harder to compare our ratings.
So at a completely different scale.
Yeah, like
either thumbs up or thumbs down.
Someone's like thumbs up, thumbs down. Someone's like stars out of 5. Someone's like a percentage. So you
can convert most percentage into stars out of 5.
Well, you can, but like 4.5 stars out of 5 and 90%. I feel kind of different about if I see them as like a rating.
What if I go 4.65 stars?
Yeah. Well,
okay. My thoughts about it was an incredible undertaking for them to try to even attempt to complete, and they did it better than like I personally saw possible, and probably like almost everyone else thought possible. I really am not sure how they're going to move on from here. I'm very excited, but part of me still thinks this was the right point to end in a lot of ways, Marvel Cinematic Universe, and maybe move on to other ventures such as TV or other avenues to explore the characters. But I don't think you're ever going to get a better ending than this. I would rate it. I'll go out of 10 for that, the easiest one. Nice. Same. You can't do same.
Yeah, hey man.
I've got to do out of 10. You can't stop me.
I'll do an 8.3 out of 10.
8.3 out of 10. Okay.
Thinking about 8.5, but
that's too high.
Low.
Okay, Jacko.
I love this movie. A little less on Infinity War because I think Infinity War did, as I said, a little bit better with all the characters and pacing. And I think there were a little too many head-scratching moments, sadly. But I would give it an 8 out of 10. I do agree with Ian. I'm not sure about the future, though. Like, this whole thing is so character-based, and people grew so attached to Iron Man, Captain America, Thor. They were such a core in these movies. I'm not sure how they're going to do without them. But, Spider-Man's still around, so whatever.
Yeah,
Tom. Go on.
Yeah, I absolutely loved it. As someone who's loved comic books and superheroes and all that shit for a very long time, this has been like experience of a lifetime. This whole 10 years of the MCU, all the movies, good and bad. I didn't see them as good as bad. On a basic level, I absolutely loved all of them.
From what I've noticed tonight is that you've basically defended every flaw. If you had to point out a flaw of this movie, Endgame, what would you point out? Or would you say there's none?
Flawless. 10 out of 10.
Nothing big jumps out to me. You gotta say everything that might be bad, I consider like minor stuff.
Yeah.
Because perhaps all the science stuff. The most important parts are the characters for me, obviously.
There were very few characters that did it wrong. Yeah.
I cannot find anything wrong with the character.
Yeah.
As inconsistencies, not really. Not really.
It's a lot of satisfying stories, isn't it?
Yes.
Nothing really is like, well, they should have done that better.
Yeah, exactly. And like, as far as the like, this bad Infinity War better, I don't. Like Jacko said, I consider this whole thing like one big thing. I knew I would love it. I knew it would be. I just knew in my gut this would be done amazing, right?
I mean, what you're saying, that's the reason this is the first episode, right? Like, how can you do a movie podcast and not talk about the MCU, which is basically a phenomena of the last 2 decades?
I've never seen
guests on it, right? It's crazy.
Basically, like.
Right, Tom, what do you rate it?
Yeah.
But not out of 10. Not out of 10. Something special.
Ooh. Okay. 99.96%.
Oh my god, that's high. Okay.
Yeah, that's real high. Is this your favorite movie ever?
It and Infinity War together, yes.
Oh, okay. Fair. Yeah, it really, for me, my final thoughts I can't just get over is what a cinematic accomplishment, the whole thing. We'd made comparisons, we were talking about it before we started filming this, about it compared to Lord of the Rings, because before this, Lord of the Rings was the most complete cinematic. I mean, there's obviously a lot of trilogies out there, but
a lot of Harry Potters, but
in
not
terms
as
of
good.
like,
Not as good.
in terms of like, I got to the last one, the way the last one happened, and kind of the way I felt about all the endings for the characters and the action. But Harry Potter just kind of.
Oh yeah.
I mean, the books are
just
really
good. But it like. Yeah, I don't know exactly what differentiates it. Maybe it's the crescendo.
I think it's your
it kind of all comes together and is a fucking big old like. It's not that Harry Potter last Harry Potter film is not full of references to the first two. Like it's like a little bit of Basilisk Fang comes out, right? That's the best. That's the best part of it. Is like going like not best part of it, but like one of the good things is like let's go back to the Chamber of Secrets to get the Basilisk Fang to destroy the world. Nice. Well, but like this just has and it's ambitious. I love it because it's ambitious. I love that there are, I mean, obviously it's Disney money. They got all the fucking money in the world, but the producers and bigwigs, were like, let's fucking spend several $1 billion making like 20 something, and it's gonna be crazy. And like, and obviously they didn't plan it all from the start, and there might have been parts where they were thinking about not doing it, but it is the first cinematic universe, right? And like we're going to see more of them. DC have tried, and like they're trying to make a monster cinematic universe, but like it really defines.
Second episode, like,
DC. There's so much depth to like people. Being made great films in the past. A lot of fantastic films from like even the mid 20th century.
Yeah.
But in terms of scope, and it's just a thing. It's just a thing.
Well,
yeah.
Anyway,
you can't
so you're rating, Chris. You're rating.
My rating is 2 thumbs up.
How many thumbs do you have out of interest? Yeah, how many thumbs do you have? Well, I mean, you have 2 big toes, so 2 out of 4.
That, ladies and gentlemen of the audience, whom I have not addressed since the very beginning,
is
all we have time for. Actually, that's probably significantly more than we have time for. I don't know. I suppose, like, if someone ever watches this, let us know if you want to do another one. We'll probably have already done by that one point because we're an enthusiastic bunch of fuckers.
Give us further suggestions, maybe.
Yeah. Comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. It's got to end like that, Jack.